to try to not bring up January 6th because every time we do one
I
of these
really don't
panels,
want to.
it's always January 6th. Y'all aren't usually the culprits. I will give y'all credit for that. But there are a lot of people that anytime any topic comes up that's remotely like this is January 6th, and we can't talk about nothing else. So that's my one caveat. I'll let you go ahead and open it up, Buckaroo, and tell us what you think. Is this a problem? What Jewish people were killed outside
I heard.
the
I saw.
museum was yesterday. So
Mhm.
like I feel like it's
The
a
embassy.
rising tide. Yeah, the
That's it.
embassies. So let's talk about it. Go ahead.
Um. Well, I'm Big Papa Buckaroo. I do think there is at least some of an issue with leftist rhetoric online. Um, Obviously, I think the online justification of violence is like wrong. Um, I think you shouldn't be dancing in the streets to two random people being shot point blank in the streets. Like I think that's just mean. I think it's a cruel way to look at life. And Katya and I were talking about this yesterday a little bit. I don't know if you ever heard if you were listening to that part, Gibbs, but I think a lot of leftists are focusing their energies towards revenge. And I think, at least for me as a leftist, revenge is like antithetical to the movement. So when you are so revenge fueled and you're not really considering the actual principles of leftism and how you'd want to implement them, you're just allowing yourself to be caught up in the public craze. And at the end of the day, that's not really what's going to move policy forward. That's not really what's going to organize people or help vulnerable communities. So
All
that's my
right,
take.
Mr. Nonfun.
Yeah, as long as there's no real conservatives here to say to bring up January 6th too. I think I'm
Yeah.
fine saying I don't like a lot of sort of the like totally anti-establishment, totally like anti-American, usually pretty like far left people, cough cough Hassan, and I feel like with the I mean, obviously, based on what we just saw, based on what you just mentioned, the two people shot at the Israeli embassy or whatever, I do feel like sometimes people skirt way too close towards like justifying that stuff. I think, yeah, on the left, and like to an extent, the same thing happened with Luigi. Although I will again mention it does feel like a lot of times the more clean divide, it's not like left right, but like anti-establishment and pro-establishment, and that's why we see a lot of anti-establishment people on the right also basically endorsing Luigi.
I mean, sorry. Finish your point. I just got excited to
Oh,
keep talking.
that was my finishing. Don't worry, you're
Okay.
good.
Yeah, I mean, I am personally anti-establishment to a considerable degree. I don't know if you guys know, I was arguing, I wouldn't say in complete defense of Luigi's actions, but more, I did make the argument that it's kind of just an expression of the political tension that we're experiencing right now when you look at it from like a more macro level. Um, I don't remember what the other point I was going to make was. Gibbs, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's a problem. I think it's a big problem. People can point to the right, and like I know the January 6th thing comes up, but like when I'm sitting here thinking about like right leaning like problems, the other one I always hear is like, oh well, the righties don't want to talk about like
Oh, no.
when a school shooting happens. I'm like, well, sure, you might get an extremist school shooter, but like everybody on the right is like that's bad, right? Like
Yeah.
no one's like, yeah, that guy, he was a good guy for shooting up that kindergarten. Like nobody's doing that, right? Yeah, yeah, and like so when we go and we're talking about this, like I don't know if it's the same, but on the left, like you brought up Luigi, you just said you were like, oh, I'm willing to defend at least the idea behind what he did, maybe not him actually doing it, or like, I mean, I'm just paraphrasing, but like,
Well,
and I
that's
think
not
this.
really what I said
Yeah,
either.
well, yeah, we could dive into it, but what I'm saying is, I think overall this is very like indicative of a bad problem. I think maybe the revenge thing is true, right? Like to some extent, but it's this idea that we didn't win the vote, and now it's someone else's turn to lead. Like I'm not saying Republicans were like just like saints, right? Like
I
I
actually
definitely think we
don't
did shit,
I don't
but
even think it's because of the vote alone. I have to say, you guys keep relating this back to the vote. I actually think this is a much greater issue than just the vote, which is why I keep saying I think this is a product of like current political tensions. It's not just the fact that Trump is in office that everybody's behaving this way. I
I mean, I
think
think it's
this
the
would have
catalyst
happened.
for sure.
I think I
Um,
don't even know if I would say this was the only catalyst because I think if
I
there
don't
were
know,
other
only.
political I think if there were other if there were any other like seemingly conservative or Republican events to occur in America, I think people might have responded similarly just because to me the left was like it's like this was the final straw. This was
Well, I agree with that. I
not
agree
the
with that.
catalyst as much as it was just like
Well, I agree with that.
I
Just
think those are a
understood,
little
like,
different.
well, like hear
just
me out here. I think yeah, we got content here now, but I think you're like right about a lot of that, right? Like, I'll give you an example. There was the with Texas, right? We had the big thing with the Eagle Pass, and they like brought the guard in. They stood up, and I said if Trump actually had been killed during the assassin, I think we might have been on the precipice of a civil war, right? Because I think that
Oh,
Republicans
absolutely.
I,
Republicans were not going to accept that we
well,
didn't win if he got killed. Like unless like Vance won, which I think probably would have happened in a landslide if that had happened. It would have probably been the biggest election in history. But like I think that if he had been killed and he didn't win, they'd have been like revolution. Right? I truly believe that would have happened. But so like I get the violence, but I feel like at that point it's almost like justified. What we're having now, where it's like, oh, you drive a Tesla. 2 out of 5 people that drive Teslas report their cars have been vandalized, right? And I'm just like, okay, this is crazy. These are the same people that were buying Teslas to, like save the environment like 8 years ago, right? Like and I'm just like, okay, I like. Do we think that's beneficial? Like they're shooting like anybody that's Jewish now. It seems like like it's fine to be racist against the Jews.
Well,
And that's like that used to be like a far right or like Nazi socialist
mhm.
thing only, right? Okay, and now that's
he's
mainstream.
socialist.
We have like fucking yeah, well they are socialist. We don't not debating that one today.
Okay.
Or we have
Really.
we have like Hassan over here having like a Houthi terrorist literally on his show. Like I feel like it's more like accepted than like hey if whatever we're gonna go to violence versus on the right it's like I guess maybe it's because the gun culture. Like I guess there's more like, hey, you have this natural fear of violence, and like we're willing to escalate it, but it's like you don't want to. I don't know. It seems different to me. I don't know. Katya, go ahead.
I,
What's your thoughts?
I think it's really like violence either like happens for kind of one or two reasons. Usually, it's a combination of the two. One, somebody's like just kind of crazy, or two, people feel like that's the option that they have to get some sort of political result. So, I mean, obviously, like there's some form of crazy mixed in with the vast, vast majority of those cases, but I feel like, I mean, obviously, like, you're gonna see more, like left-wing violence or whatever when we talk about like when there's a Republican in office, especially with the kind of like, both houses of Congress and the Supreme Court and the president thing. But what I will say about a lot of it is I will honestly say that a lot of the things like aren't that we're talking about, like we talked about Hassan, we talked about a lot of the the pro-Palestine people or whatever. There was like violence in these groups or like some anti-Semitism. Like I definitely like feel like that's a problem, and I feel like that's like definitely like should be distinguished as an extremism problem because generally that's not been like a mainstream position of the left as far as like the politically involved left to just support the Houthis and like terrorist groups in the Middle East.
obviously, yeah.
It's
Yeah, I
becoming a
also
problem of the
think
left. That's
there are
kind of where I'm
just
like
some
going with this,
online.
like a little bit, right? Like you said, Hassan's not mainstream, right? Like,
No.
but on
Mm,
okay, like let's like
he's
argue
like one of the
who is
biggest leftist
mainstream, right? Like you
content
like I would
creators.
argue Destiny's
Mhm.
mainstream now, right? Like he was
Yes.
just on Piers Morgan now, and Destiny's smaller than Hassan. Hassan's been on Piers. I like my parents know who Hassan is. They
Well,
probably knew
Well,
who Hassan was before I was, and like, which is crazy because they saw him on fucking Piers, and I'd never seen it before, right? And then I got further into the space, and I suddenly found out probably about like last TwitchCon who Hassan was, and I'm like, okay, so like that feels like that's mainstream. Like you like don't
there are
think that it's
no
concerning.
what do you mean
there are no
mainstream? Do you mean in
politicians.
size or in like beliefs? Because I was saying more like the
Well,
ideological
well, if
situation
it's
with
the
the Overton
size, isn't
window.
that? Well, if it's well, I guess that's my question then. If it's the size, how big and how many people do you have to believe this before this is like a mainstream like thought in the party, like or in the group?
Well,
Like
You
I
know
think
what?
the
I
relevant
think it's
thing is
different
that
hold on,
there's
because
no
they
go
don't.
ahead, hop on. Go ahead,
yeah,
hop on. Go ahead.
there's no politician that really aligns with Hassan. Like
Yeah.
there are a
Ilhan
few
Omar?
no,
No,
not she's
he's
not
No.
further
serious.
extreme than Ilhan
No.
Omar by
He-
far.
I would say Hassan is also like very flagrant. He's like very flippant. He's very like egotistical in a way that is very different from Ilhan Omar. Like I think he responds directly by saying shit like, "Isn't that the guy that got fucked in the eye hole?" versus versus this woman who's just like actually trying to do her job.
Well, do you think? Well, I guess what I'm asking is
Even if
like
you
I feel like
disagree with like how she's doing it,
well,
I would
he's
say there's one that's like much more obviously aggressive, much more like clearly immoral, no matter where you stand. There's one doing wrong
well, I mean, but
compared to.
he's also representing a large group of people watching him that are like going to be like voting going forward, right? Like maybe they're
Okay,
not in there
No, they're
They
now.
not
don't
gonna
even
be
they
no,
don't
they're
voting.
not. No, they're
they don't
not.
even
No,
vote
no,
for
they're voting.
Democrats.
They're
No, they don't
anti-electoralist.
vote.
Exactly.
Yes, most of these people
Oh, so
are
it's a
not
psyop.
actually. This is why it's not
What?
even a psyop. It's just
It's a
these are
joke.
No,
online.
The
Well, I
CIA, bro.
honestly, I've talked about this.
no.
I've like made references to this many times, but it's honestly just like a community of people online who think that talking is activism and talking to one another on Twitter and YouTube and all of you on Twitch is activism. Unironically, that is the community of people that you're talking about, and they don't vote because they don't support the system at all. They think that voting is supporting the system,
Right.
or they're just
I
fucking
mean,
lazy. No offense, actually offense. Don't
yeah,
be
I
so
mean,
lazy that you can't have a voice.
you won't see these people taking the electoral system seriously. And I mean, people who they did support, they'll immediately not support them as soon as they go any way towards like the, average voter after getting into office. Like it happened with AOC, it happened with even like, Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib as well, where you'll get people saying that they're patsies because they moderated their positions like after gaining office.
Right. I'm sure there's almost certainly a clip of Hassan like condemning Ilhan Omar because he thinks
There
she's
is.
too moderate on some issue or something, or she's not
which
doing
is
enough
which
to.
is it's sorry. It's just so funny to me to think about all the people that are like in these online spaces who are essentially just lambasting anybody who's like not as far left as them. Where if they were actually active in politics, they would know that they have to interact with these people all the fucking time just to get anything done. Like no matter where you are, like unless you're volunteering at like a soup kitchen, you're probably going to meet like hundreds of people who have extremely like starkly different perspectives about what you should and should not do in life, and you have to be able to argue your point. It's not just about like condemning people, and I think that's a whole part of the problem with like the online left. Honestly, I could bitch about them forever.
I have insider information for how the online left is when they go offline. Because I had friends who were like when I was in college and stuff, like, and before I moved to an area where it is not really a city. Back then I had quite a few friends. Actually, a couple of my neighbors were members of the PSL. So I was bored and like went to their meetings a couple of times because I'm like, you know what, I'm a leftist, good enough, I don't care. And it's literally just talking about historical figures and bloviating about theory, which I'm very good at. So they were all like, "Oh my gosh, please speak more." But I'm like, bro,
They just
maybe we
bitch.
should vote. What are
They
you
literally
doing?
just bitch. They just talk and they bitch. That's all they fucking do. It amazes me that bro,
Well, they were third worldists, so I mean, like, yeah,
mean,
you're not really
hold on.
getting anywhere with that.
Well, here's what I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, but those are the same kind. Like maybe those specific ones aren't the ones. But like this seems like it's the exact same thing as when we used to have like the right wingers be on the 4chan all the time, and then they go nuts and go postal somewhere, right? And they'd get brainwashed. But except now it's like literally endorsed by someone with like 20,000 concurrent viewers on like at any given time, right? And now like it's like now we have a community of all these people coming together, except on the leftist side this time, and it's almost like tangentially endorsed. And I think there's one big factor that's different, right? And Greg Gutterfield brings this up. Like on the Republican side, many Republicans they like go and vote Republican, right? But their identity isn't like I'm a Republican. Their identity is like I play baseball, or oh I'm a welder, or oh I go to church every Sunday, or like I'm a Baptist, or it's like they have like another like identity that's not like them. But versus on the left, it feels like very much like your political identity is your identity, or it's like replaced religion to some extent. And so whenever there's
Okay.
like somebody like a Republican office, it's like your personal identity has been rejected, and it's like leading people to violence. I don't know. That's kind of my pet theory.
There,
It seems.
well, there are a couple. There, there are so many things you've said. I think one of the first things when it comes to like leftism, there's this phrase: "The personal is political." This is a common phrase amongst a lot of people on the left, especially in online communities. The personal is political because they're talking about things like their identity, like their racial identity, their like immigration status, like their sexual identity, like their gender identity, and all of those feel like they're being directly legislated upon because in many cases they are. And so the personal is political to a lot of them. So for a lot of leftists, when it comes to politics, it is deeply personal to them because they feel like they are directly affected by it. And so even people who may not be as like maybe it's a cisgender heterosexual white man in his mid to late 20s whatever, um, because you have this frame of reference of the personal is political, you can then also use that as the lens through which you like see every other interaction you have with the environment. You know what I mean? Like now you're not just thinking about how you had a shitty experience at McDonald's. You're thinking about, how the corporation is just making McDonald's, like this specific McDonald's, so worn down because they just don't care about their workers and they want to make sure that their workers end up getting injured on the job. And like there are so many other things that you can add into it if you just follow the idea that the personal is political. And if you don't have any other principles, I think personally, that are like a part of leftism that you're sticking to and you're only using your identity as a driving force, it makes it really hard to be active and not
Right.
be like hurt and, honestly kind of pissy sometimes when you are trying to make changes.
I'm not
Right.
convinced this
And-
doesn't happen with a lot of MAGA people, though, Gibbs. I'm fairly
I mean,
fairly certain
I'm
there
not
are
saying
plenty
there's
of.
no MAGA people.
in a
I'm just
different-
saying
I just think
it's
in a
more
different
on one side than the other. I think there's different problems. I'm sure there are some MAGA people that are like, if you insult God, Emperor Trump, I'm coming for you. I'm definitely. I'm sure
MAGA
there's a few
peeps
of those
are the
people.
biggest fanboys and fangirls with your merch and your little like
the
Trump
merch is good.
conventions
They
and your
really-
little
They
yeah
are
cardboard
suppliers, though.
counts and
Yeah.
yeah.
Don't be
There's
mad
not
because Trump has got better merch. Don't be mad. He's got good merch.
I just think that's why this happens on the left. Like I absolutely agree there are people who make it emotional on the right. Just I think there might be a different mechanism. I don't know.
at
I just
least
think
it's,
that's why it's happening a lot.
at least it's about their actual like personal and in certain circumstances, of course, their like immutable characteristic type identity as opposed to like a politician that they think represents how they're mad about shit.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, like to some extent, but then, like, I'll give you an example, right? Like, let's go with this prenatalist bombing. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I'd ever heard the words like antinatalist or whatever before in my life up until that, and then I read it and I was like, "Is this really a thing?" Yeah,
Really?
no, I'm not following the antinatalist movement. Like the fact that
Well,
there's an
you hear
antinatalist.
about things.
I mean, maybe I'd read that there's an anti-natalist movie. I don't know, but like, let's just
Oh,
say
I
if
just
I
know
did, it's
anti-natalist.
within the only 3 times I've ever heard the words anti-natalist, and it's the only time I've ever heard like anti-natalist bombing. And I guess this speaks more to what kind of world we live in now, that I just wasn't even phased by it. But I did get it, and I'm like, okay, surely no one's in favor of this. And then I go on Twitter or I go on Facebook, and I see like a large swath of people, and they're all Dems. They're like are like people I know that lean Dem, and they're not like official Dems, but they're all like, yeah, who would want to bring kids into this world? I could understand wanting to bomb an IMF. Trump supports IMF or whatever, and like we need to blow this up. And I'm like, what? Like, isn't this just a terrorist attack? Like, this would be like if like a right wing like Christian nationalist went and shot up a
Hold on.
school, and then everybody was like, hey. Yeah, that guy's a good guy. Good for him for shooting up the kindergarten. Like, it's a little crazy to me. I feel like, come on.
So
I
I'll
mean,
off the face believe that some people have said, you know what, like by all like on an ideological or philosophical basis, the concept of antinatalism might have some legs to it, and they don't want to bring children into this world or whatever. But I'm not going to believe on its face that you saw like all these people saying, yeah, this indiscriminate like bombing in which people died, like that was Gucci, and like also, like yeah, it's super good that that part of it
Oh, they were
happened.
more
Not
like they
like
were more like, oh, I understand why. Who would want to bring kids this world? We should be fighting the fight against the system, kind of thing. That's what they were saying.
did
Like
they
the
say
shit.
the bombing was good? Because I feel like these are two.
Hold on. I mean, you know what I'm saying. There's a difference
Oh my
between
God.
outright being like, hey, that bombing, that guy sank like whoever, right? But there's also like a problem when people like, well, I'm just saying, he might have had some good points, like that's also bad. And whenever they're sitting here going, hey, he made his point through violence, like he brought attention to the cause, like do you not see where that leads to the more violence category?
I
I
mean,
guess so. I just feel like those, like, if we're gonna discuss it, like, I feel like there's a difference between people who are maybe making, like, a poor, like, political take as far as, like, taking advantage or of, like, the increased discussion around what they care about because of a violent act versus those who think that the violent act was on its face moral or good and should happen more. Like, I feel like those are super, super, like, different. If we're going to be discussing them, we should kind of separate them.
I would also I don't have data on this, but I would guess that like right wingers attacking like abortion clinics or whatever is probably more common than anti-natalists attacking IVF clinics or whatever. Like I would,
That wouldn't surprise me.
yeah, I'd be willing to bet on that.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised me at all, to be like totally honest. Like, I could definitely see some like Christian nationalist organizations. I just don't think that it seems to be like there's this like tangential, like I can like point to it, like in a much larger thing where it seems there's like a level of acceptance, right? Like if I look at like let's look at the abortion clinic argument, right? Like if I go and ask, like, and I guess maybe this falls in the same category as what I was kind of just describing. If I go ask a bunch of Christians like that are like hardcore, like I don't know, don't wear blue jeans as sin Christians, whether or not like they are in favor of the abortion bombings, they're gonna be like, no, but I'm glad the abortion clinic's gone. Now, will I agree that probably leads to some tangential level of violence? Yes, I probably would agree with that, right? Because they're like, yeah, it's gone. That's a good thing, net positive, But if people died in the thing, that's bad. They're gonna like condemn violence as being a thing. However, I think even then, that's a pretty like higher fringe than like people that are like if you went to like just a regular Baptist church and was like, hey, do you think it was okay for them to bomb these abortion clinics? They're gonna be like, hell no, that was terrible, right? Like versus like I don't know. In my experience, versus if I go do the same thing on the flip, it seems like there's much more of this level of like acceptance of the baseline of violence. Like, oh, vandalizing someone because they own a Tesla is totally fine because fuck Elon and they supported my buying this kind of shit. Like, it's just like, or fuck you, you're transphobic because XYZ, let's fucking, throw a drink at you, if you're walking down the street. Like, but I don't think that there's many as like that doesn't happen as much in my opinion from the Republicans, and like not from my experience, from what I'm seeing, like
I
online.
mean, I feel like here's the thing. I feel like it's different if we're discussing kind of small stakes things versus large stakes things. Because like in what you were saying, we went from comparing a bombing to like bombings and being like, okay, because I mean, I'm sure like more people, as you said, like more people would say, oh, if at least the clinic is shut down, or oh well, if they have a place that sanctions murder, what did they think was going to happen or whatever. I'm pretty sure there's plenty of people who say that while condemning violence. As I said about this situation, I'm sure, like, I'm not sure if the people who you're talking about legitimately were saying, yeah, the bombings were good, but at least they were comparing bombings to bombings. Then we go to talking about Tesla vandalizing somebody's truck, which a lot of the vandalism that's happening is really low stakes shit, and then throwing a drink at somebody which is also low stakes in comparison to, like, again,
Yeah, I
like,
mean, it's all
bombing.
stakes. Like, do you agree that something low stakes could like spark something pretty like hefty? Like, throw a
Anything
drink
can
and like,
happen, but
I
I mean,
mean,
speech can spark that as well. So I feel like we're talking
sure.
about low stakes to low stakes and then high stakes, like as far as the damage to property, or whatever. Because obviously, more people are gonna say, yeah, if somebody was yelling, I don't know, like super like transphobic or racist stuff at somebody, and the person threw a drink at them, that's different than like if they
Yeah,
like killed
that would be
random
one thing.
people.
That would be one thing. Yeah, let's just follow that scenario out, and then say the guy that was originally saying the transphobic stuff, like, gets in their face and then gets shot, right? So the bad guy that was yelling the bad things got shot by the person that was, threw the drink originally, and then they were like, "Oh, I feared for my life. This guy got in my face now, and he shot him." Okay, I'd probably be on the trans person side on that situation, right? Based off everything you're going. However, what happens next? Oh, well, now 5 people get involved. Now we have a mass shooting, here at this area, or like maybe the cops get involved, turns to a riot. Like, I'm just saying, like, it's this level of acceptance that's like, oh, we're gonna go straight to violence, like, of some kind, to like execute a point. Like there's a meme within like the Republican circles, at least on TikTok, where it's like you go and you just like wear your MAGA hat and you go to like the anti-rally, right? And used to you'd have the protest and be the anti-protest, and it's like, we guarantee it, just film it, you're going to be attacked physically, because it's like a meme that they're gonna like, oh, versus if you like wear Biden gear to like the Republican rally, they're gonna be like, you're
Subtestosterone.
wrong, buddy, or they might cuss you out, but they're gonna walk off. Like, have you seen this like meme like at all? Like, do you think there's any validity to this? Like,
I don't know. I've seen a lot of the soy pills videos, and I'm pretty sure he didn't get beat up at most of the Trump rallies. Even though I think at least some of them he went as open Kamala or Biden supporter.
well, that's what I'm
I
saying. He
don't.
did not get beat. He didn't get beat up.
Oh, sorry. Oh no, you're right. Yeah.
He's saying that the Trump supporters are going to get beat up. I'm not sure. I mean, again, like
I'll give
we
you a hard
can
time.
find
I don't think they're like
arguments
fighting.
on like either side of, like, we can find examples of this, like from when we're talking about people getting heckled, people getting like cussed out, then to people getting assaulted, because again, we can like find at each level examples on either side, and without any sort of like data on this, obviously, especially in the world we live in with algorithms and social media videos, you're going to see more that is confirming your bias, and I'm going to see more that's confirming my bias. So I can't say what's more or less. I literally cannot.
Yeah, and I live in Seattle, so I definitely there's more or less.
More or less. Huh?
Yeah.
I don't know. Y'all don't. Okay, let's just try this. All right. Do you think there's a problem? We talked about this a little bit before with the leaders, like with. I feel like the Dems. Okay, let's go with another example here. We talked about. I said we weren't going to talk about BLM too much, but Maxine Waters, for example, you calling for the violence. Like, it seemed like the Chaz was pretty well accepted. Bailing people out, the bail fund that they had going for that. Is that like not basic implications? Like, hey, we are advocating for violence if we don't get our way. Is that not exactly what that is?
I always thought that being against bail is like, because bail is an official thing that you have. It's an official part of our justice system. So people advocating to pay bail, like, I mean, then I don't know, maybe like what's wrong? Like, you're arguing to what? Like, follow a legal process that is a part of our legal system? I don't know.
And,
I always found that
like
sort of
a big premise of like in a lot of the BLM movement is that a lot of these bail things are like unfair and like disproportionately affect low income people or whatever. And it's like, regardless of whether you believe that, like the goal a lot of times wasn't just like, oh, let's let violent criminals out. It was, we think the system is unfair and we're gonna help people who we think have been
It was
affected
because
by.
it was literally people who
I
kicked
will
up for
say,
rioting.
even when it came to
That's
even
violent
when it
criminal,
came
right?
to Chaz, even when it came to Chaz and Chop or Chaz or Chop or whatever, like the reason it started was because people fled, not because people were like there was no violent uprising that led to Chaz. The station, that local police station, fled from the area before they were like
Yeah, why
harmed
did
in
they
any
flee?
way.
Why did they flee?
Look, I'm saying they had people going towards them, but they weren't physically harmed at all. They left the police station. They
Yeah, but
just
why?
did
Yeah, why did they do that?
because they were being surrounded.
Yeah, because they were avoiding the violence that was coming, right? Like they didn't want like some international incident where they shot protesters and the protesters are attacking a police station, right? Like that's
They
why
had
they left.
literally spent that whole weekend like tasing and gassing tons of protesters in all of Seattle. There were tons of videos of them performing the teapot method against different areas of protesters. So like I just don't even know what you're trying to talk about right now. There are tons of nonviolent ways for police officers who are allegedly trained to be able to de-escalate situations, who are armed apparently, who just run like flee the area. I guess to me it's just I don't
Yeah,
know.
I
I
mean,
don't think that's enough to say that like Chaz and Chop existed only because they were going out and assaulting police officers. I just think it's ridiculous to say that it was just the fact that people were being like brutal and violent towards other individuals. Nobody was harmed in that.
There was a murder. There was a murder in
Yes,
and they
vegan.
were destroying
I've
property.
done.
What do you mean?
This is
In
the
Chaz
second
and
one.
Chop, I
Tomorrow we're gonna
said
do a
that the
third one.
establishment of Chaz and Chop didn't occur as a result of violence.
right. Which obviously,
That
like,
was
the
my whole
person wasn't getting like any sort of like people were getting hurt and not getting medical care, obviously,
Yes,
because
and that was a
police and
problem.
stuff. That was a big issue. I mean, I'm not like a big fan of like, that sort of like action. I don't think that was helpful. I think that was
I agree.
crappy, and yeah,
I just think framing
it's
it like it was some sort of like violent attack on anything when what happened was protesters protested and then cops left the area. I think, even establishing that in any regard as some sort of like violent takeover the area is just not recognizing the reality of how Chaz and Chop was established in the first place. Yes, there were issues after it was established, but it had already been established at that point.
I mean, I don't know about any of that because even with your own situation you described, you agreed that there had been incidents with the police and the protesters leading up to that, correct? Like
With
previous,
other police officers at other stations
right?
with
Other
other
stations,
protesters,
right?
yeah.
And so then the
Where the
protesters,
police
right?
officers were
Right, and the
in control
protesters
of the
then
situation.
moved en masse towards this police station, and the police
No,
from
these
like,
are other protesters. There was just a protest. There was like
I
a
mean,
citywide protest going
I'm
on.
reading from their
no,
thing, and it literally, the chief at the time states, we did it in order to de-escalate the situation and rebuild trust. So like, they decided
I
like to move
know.
away because it was a violent, escalating situation. Like that's what they're
I
implying.
understand. I'm not confused by that. What I am saying is when you phrase Chaz or Chop as there was a violent event that occurred that led to the establishment of Chaz, you are wrong and you are spreading misinformation about Chaz. That is incorrect.
I think that the violence happened like within it afterwards, and we're talking about violence when we talk about. I think that before its establishment there was violence. After its establishment there was violence, but technically, like when we talk about like the establishment itself, it was on the back of violence, but it wasn't itself. Like it's not like they went into the police station and started like getting at
No.
cops or anything there. But obviously, if the cops weren't under threat of danger, they wouldn't have left.
Yeah. I just think I think when we're talking about violent acts and you're talking about actually assaulting people directly, you're talking about throwing things at people and you're talking about shooting people in the streets, and then you bring up the establishment of Chaz itself, that did not occur. So I think it is genuinely spreading misinformation.
I mean, I like object to that. I know of somebody that had a business in the Chaz, and it was basically firebombed. Like whenever y'all are saying there's no damage or no business, and you're saying, and there was literal attacks
I
on
didn't say there was
officers
no
leading up to this, and then the cops go, "Hey, we're gonna move out because we don't want to
to
de-escalate
other
the
cops
situation."
from other stations and other precincts. There were other incidents of violence.
Okay, so if I am in a city, let's just say there's a city with 4 distinct zones, and in 3 of the zones there are incidents, violent incidents, and I'm in the 4th zone, and all of a sudden now mass protest is coming towards me, and we've had other incidents in every other zone that have been very violent, and the mayor goes or the police chief goes, "Hey, abandon that station because it's a big ass protest. It's bigger than the other ones, and we don't want any more violence. Is that not exactly what we're talking about when we're saying, oh, we're in fear of leftist violence, and then they establish a cop-free zone where there's
What
vandalism
caused all
and
the
people
violence that
damaged?
occurred in the protests before that? Was it all protests attacking police officers, or was it
No, it's
police
both.
officers
It's both.
targeting protesters and actually inciting violence that causes riots? Like, I understand what
Well,
you're
it's both.
saying, but when you're talking about these violent interactions previously, there are cases where police officers instigate violence in protests specifically for this reason. So yes, I understand what you're saying, but again, when you relate something like that to someone being shot in the streets, I agree. I agree there was a de-escalationary tactic taken. I think that was good. I don't think that the violence that happened in Chaz afterwards, when they made it impossible for emergency services to get to people, I think that was wrong. But when you equate people being shot in the streets for being Israeli to police officers deciding to leave a police station and then the people that live there taking over and blocking streets, those are just two different situations. I think it's wrong to say that they're the same. I think you can talk about the political tension that's a problem. I think you can talk about protests being a problem. But I think when you equate those two situations, it is actively misinformation.
Yeah, I mean, I would say they're different. The one with the Chaz is like an armed insurrection. I would say, yeah, it's much worse. If we're being honest, like, yeah, I agree, they are different.
That was not an armed insurrection. It was not.
If you are leaving, if you're an armed force and you leave an area due to the threat of violence, by choice, right? Okay, so if I move my people out by choice to avoid armed protests becoming more violent if I stay, that is an acknowledgement that there will be violence due to these people.
So
if
does
we
that mean
stay.
January 6th was also an insurrection? If you agree that this was an insurrection, does that automatically mean that January 6th was as well, considering there were violent protesters?
We already
considering there were violent protesters.
We already.
This is. I'm going to say that this is literally the argument that you're making, Buckaroo, is
the other one.
That's why I already brought up the January 6th thing, because it always comes back to January 6th.
I'm going to actually, well, yeah, because it's a protest where people they had to fall back because there weren't enough cops in an area. That's another good example of that. Which I'll be saying to that. I mean, it's a similar argument. What you're making?
Sure. It's an armed riot, and that's why they were apprehended. But did they maintain and hold control for any extended period of time? Maybe a few hours at best. And that's a big difference between the Chaz and the January 6th. So if we want to get into it,
we're talking about
it was a riot. I will grant that one.
I'm talking about the an insurrection. You called it an insurrection,
because
so I'm responding to your claim that it is an insurrection, and I am challenging it.
Well, I mean, yeah, fine. If we want to do that, I will argue that by the standard I'm setting forth, one is an insurrection, the other is a violent riot. If we want to do that, sure.
Both are insurrections.
Both are bad.
Oh,
well, but
both are insurrections, or neither of them are. You can't. You can't.
No, I can, because one of them they held it for an extended period of time and said no government coming in here. The other one they were apprehended within the day.
I don't think it's about how long. It's about slowing down or stopping government processes. I mean, kicking the cops out versus making it so they couldn't certify the election, even though it was for a shorter period of time. But what I am going to say about this, I'm gonna say to you, Buckaroo, the argument that you're making about how they left the police station is like similar to the argument that people make that they were let in on January 6th because police retreated because they didn't have enough cops at the Capitol building that day. So I mean, if they retreated because they didn't have enough cops, like it still obviously like counts as like a violent takeover because it's the threat in numbers that has caused them to do that. Although they didn't use physical violence.
Actually, why they retreated though? If they retreated as a de-escalationary tactic, did they retreat because they didn't actually have enough? Because I don't think that's actually why they retreated in the first place. I think they could have handled it if they chose to use a direct violent approach. They chose not to because they recognized that wasn't the right approach.
If the cops at J6 pulled out machine guns,
I'm not arguing.
They had enough cops for that. I mean,
yeah.
If they I don't know. I'm sorry. Like it's a complex situation. if we're
That's fine.
talking about the definition of like insurrection and stuff like that, as well as, what you're talking about with protest and where the violence exactly occurred. But what I will say about this stuff, I mean, it is obviously like it's not anything that I feel like is particularly like the most effective as far as like affecting change, especially when it's not done
I agree
like
with
kind of
that.
in coordination with voting and nonviolent efforts. Because people like to bring up stuff like the civil rights movement, which there was like civil disobedience. There was obviously violent protest. That was another wing of it. And then of course there
Chaz
were
was
people that were willing to vote.
Chaz was just not something that was planned or at all in any regard. It was just people
Right.
blocking the street being like, we have a block. Honestly, I like knowing the neighborhood. It's the neighborhood to do that. It's like the one neighborhood to do that. I think there are issues with Chaz. I think like
Right.
obviously it's not. I mean, I'm surprised it even lasted a month. I don't know how it lasted a whole month. They like put in a garden and shit like that. But I believe I can't remember if this was actually directly related to the homeless people that live in and by like Cal Anderson Park where Chaz is. But I know they just end up there. It's like a contentious area in general. It's like a very politically contentious space, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I
I'm
will
not-
I will
say,
say
I
it's
think
super
I'm
different.
Go ahead, Nalfa. Go ahead.
I think I'm open to both being insurrections. I would have to do more reading on Chaz. I didn't pay that much attention to politics in 2020. But the consequence of, January 6th being successful would have been like overturning the election, which is way, way bigger than any consequence from occupying a few city blocks or whatever.
Yes.
And I do. I mean, I know you don't want to talk about it, Gibbs. I know, but like Trump, you can criticize Kamala for posting a link to a bail fund, but Trump pardoned all the J6ers and then settled like a $30 million lawsuit with Ashley Babbitt's family. So I think that's much more of a.
Sounds very patriotic to me. He was out there, pardoning people for the good of the nation to let us heal. Because some of these people shouldn't have been there. That's what he was doing. He was, I actually agree with what was it, Ryan's take from earlier. I think that the idea, like when we were talking about these things, the potential investigation into Biden and the cover-up, I was saying I think his idea about hearings and then pardoning them would be a good way. It would let the people heal. Like, we can see that there was this bad thing. And now we can fix it going forward. I think that's what he was doing with the January 6th. It was very controversial. Some people thought they shouldn't have been arrested at all. Some people, thought there was an insurrection. He was, healing us going forward. Just like I totally understand. And I argued, people like, oh, Biden pardoned his son. I'm like, bro, if I was president, I'd pardon everybody in my family, just in case. Why? I don't give a shit. I'm not going to jail if I have the power, and they're not going to go to jail if I got that power, in the future. That makes sense to me, and to argue they're not going to do that is ridiculous. Come on, it's a healing thing in some cases. In that case, I don't know. I don't see that as the same thing as what you're trying to argue. The bail fund is different because they're literally arguing for, hey, go riot. We're going to do this. What did Maxine Waters say exactly? It was something about, violent, cause violence. And then another was, no justice, no peace. And, then as they're burning places down, come on. And then they're bailing these people out who they have on camera burning the 7-Eleven down. You don't think that's tangibly endorsing violence? Oh yeah, we just bailed the guy out that burned this guy's 7-Eleven down. He didn't even have anything to do with what's going on. Why did Ahmed lose his 7-Eleven? This is some bullshit. I don't know.
I think the intentions are almost opposite from what you said. I think Trump basically, I think he thought it'd be a win with a lot of his base to pardon people, and I think he also did basically just want to reward his supporters. And I think I mentioned this earlier. I think a lot of the justification for bailing people out in BLM was not because people wanted violent criminals on the street, but because they felt like the system was unfair and they wanted to help people that they thought were screwed over by the unfair police or justice system.
Sounds sus. I don't know if I trust that. I think.
I mean, I don't know.
Go ahead.
I feel like there's definitely something super kind of ironic and scummy about being okay, I know that my side did this, but you know what? We're all gonna. I'm deciding. You know what? We're all gonna heal. I need to remember that one. Next time I really fuck with somebody and do something terrible to him, I'm gonna just hit him with the, well, we
I got
should just forgive each other. Let's all heal. I mean,
oh, I
that's
got a
like a
better one.
life hack. That's
Oh,
so base.
I'll even give you a better one than that. If you hang out with Latinas quite a bit, you'll hear this one. I felt that it was the right thing to do. You're welcome. That'll get you. Yeah, just goes that logic. It excuses cheating. That's like they're like, well, I felt like it was the right thing to do at the time. Oh, wait, what is that supposed to mean? You know?
Wait, like about cheating in a
Oh,
relationship?
well, I've heard it for that. I've heard it for like an excuse because they called somebody fat, like they didn't want to wear a dress, or like I've heard it because they were just any reason you want. I felt like I felt like it was the right thing to do. It's a just
Okay.
band
But like
right
I
on the.
guess just being rude or something or making a stupid mistake, I feel like, but like if you're in a relationship with somebody, I don't like the only reason mental state to say that you felt like cheating was the right thing to do is something that's indicative of why you shouldn't want to be in a relationship with them. But
Listen,
okay.
I'm just telling you, it's what you hear often, and like they can argue it to the death. Like, listen, how can I go know that this was not the right thing to do if I didn't trust in my feelings? You have to trust your feelings. It's trust in your gut, Tim. It's trust in your gut. Like, and of course, I'm doing it in a redneck accent. I'm not doing it with the fucking Latina bullshit. But yeah, that's it works every time. It's the best gaslighting expression I've ever heard.
Yeah, so that's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I try to avoid thinking with my feelings as much as possible. Only bad things come of it. No, I'm joking.
Yes. Yes, I feel like that's the case with a lot of this. Like I watched the thing just yesterday, and they were talking about on TikTok right now, the rise of like pro like assassination content is like extremely high because it's like inflammatory and it goes towards the algorithm. Be like, we should take out Trump and shit. And like there was that poll that like we talked about a little bit. Was it on Monday that came out where like 55% of Dims are like I actually looked up. It's all 55% of all Dims in this poll are. Were willing to say that we should assassinate Trump. Like, you don't think that this is a inherent problem amongst leftism? That 55% of people think we should assassinate Trump on the left? On the left, like, I mean, come on, y'all don't think this is a problem?
I think it's a problem, especially because I think that I think it gives a real indication that people feel like the only way that he like could be held accountable for anything in any way would be literally that, because what like holding him legally accountable didn't work, trying to impeach him didn't work. Like he's talked before about running for third terms or trying to, eliminate or pause certain rights, even those that are within the Constitution, stuff like habeas corpus, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, I think it's concerning that people have like little kind of faith in our governmental processes and our judicial processes, that if something is that dire, that would be something we have to resort to. And I think that that's been, due to eroding of these processes that's been going on for years at this point.
But you look
Right.
like you were about to say something there. Nathan, go ahead.
I don't know. I don't. Quite frankly, I don't know if I believe 55% of old Dems. I would believe 55% of like all young Dems, but I do think a lot of that is just a rise of like a entirely anti-establishment, anti-electoral like leftism, and I've never. I've never liked that. I don't think I've ever justified that. I do find do find that concerning. But I don't know what to do about it, man.
Yeah, you guys would love my mother, because my mom, she jokes about like that. Sometimes she likes Destiny, which is very funny to me, and she always votes in like every election. And yeah, she's 66 and still on that grind set, I guess, of being like a political firebrand, I suppose.
Yes, I see. I find it funny how like the how many older people are really getting into the online space of watching like politics, like in this kind of stuff. Like every day I find more and more people and they're like of the like 70s, 80s. Like my parents are in their 60s and they're like, "Oh yeah, we were watching so and so the other day." And I'm like, "How the fuck do you even know who that is?" Like, and I like watching YouTube and stuff as opposed to like traditional news service. Like, I mean, I wonder if like I guess this is the future. The all the talking heads are just gonna be online people, and like networks are gonna die. I mean, do y'all foresee that happening?
I mean, I do, and I foresee that that's been happening, which is, again, in the last panel, what I was lamenting about, that it seems like the right, with stuff like Charlie Kirk, with stuff like Ben Shapiro, we had situations where they basically had a monopoly on this alternate media, and, like, so many, Democrats just stayed with our MSNBC, our CNN, and, again, like, those things kind of, like, it cost us a lot of support, because it's the future's now, and we can't live in 1980 forever.
Yeah, I was
as much as I wish.
I actually looked up this this tweet that I'd seen recently. I'll have to scroll back to it again, but it's the total following of the top right-leaning and left-leaning shows. And I'll just show this. I'll show this picture now. The red is obviously right-leaning, and the left is all blue. The blue is all left-leaning.
Have you gone through that?
So that's just that. I found the links, but yeah, it's like Joe Rogan's the biggest, and you have Ben Shapiro.
Yeah. But hold on.
Russell
Have you
Brand.
have you read? Yeah.
Crazy.
Have you seen like what they're calling left wing on some of those people? Like they have Piers Morgan as a right wing, and I'm like, Piers Morgan is not right wing. Like they have.
Yeah, he is.
Yes, he is. They have the Young Turks. Midas Touch.
He got kicked out of the BBC for being too conservative, but he's only got more conservative.
He is like a super liberal, bro. He wants gun control to the max. Like
The Breakfast Club.
Right.
He's British. Let's just leave him out of this conversation, okay? He's just some fucking weird British
like they
guy.
have Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's a Bernie guy. Like how is Joe Rogan right?
He went crazy.
Joe Rogan's crazy.
I used to like him during COVID. I guess the ivermectin or whatever else fried his brain. Or I guess he and RFK shared the worm or something, and he's gone a little nutty buddy over here. And there's many cases of that, and I think
he ended up being right about the ivermectin. Did you see the interview where he interviewed the doctor who called him like a charlatan for that, and then the guy goes, "Well, I'm actually started taking a 10 milligram dose of ivermectin to stop the COVID." And he's like, "You are admitting you did the thing after you literally called me a fucking like crazy horse dewormer guy on national television on MSNBC, and you're admitting on my show today that you are taking this medicine to do exactly what I said." Like, and he's like, "Yeah, did y'all not see that interview?" Like, I feel like a lot of times I'll find it. It's pretty crazy. Like,
Joe Rogan said Trump was horrible during his first term, and he's clearly done about face on that one. So clearly, people can change their minds.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously Joe Rogan caused more people to vote for Trump than caused people to vote for Kamala or Biden. I don't think. I would find it very hard to believe otherwise. Even if you don't want to call him holistically right wing, he clearly serves that purpose in effect. But
I mean, come on. Like, this is kind of like the argument that Tyler makes all the time. Is y'all like, yeah, these are right wing. Like, Trump's not even right wing. Like, I heard the other day, y'all were like, "Oh, this is the most right wing guy." I'm like, this guy's like center right at most.
What? His vice president is literally an evangelical, like born and raised evangelical Christian.
He was advocating for a sovereign wealth fund the other day.
Catholic convert. Speaker of the House was an evangelical Christian. Peter Thiel, evangelical Christian.
Some of the stuff in this big new bill.
There's no way you can tell me that these people aren't all obviously on the way.
I know non-fans excited about this big new bill. I was reading
conservatives on the right.
I obviously don't like it.
The knob of every other billionaire they meet. That's the only.
What do you mean? You're not excited for the baby fund, like the baby fund that's coming out, the new sovereign wealth fund for babies?
No, I don't. That's not really a sovereign wealth fund,
or whatever they're calling it. That's a bond or trust fund or something for every baby going to be put out.
I think we should just move to universal saving or like a tax-free universal savings account. I don't really think it's. Maybe it's a net benefit, but I really don't like we keep adding like a bunch of like random tax-free accounts, a bunch of random like deductions for things. Like I think we should just massively simplify the tax code and have like all your savings be deductible essentially.
Bad though, don't worry.
But look, I mean, Gibbs, I think. like even if Trump's policy is center right, which I don't grant, but like even if it is, I don't think like no center right person is pushing unitary executive theory to the extent that Trump does it. Like no.
Wait, hold on. Well, do you think Bush was like extreme right?
Here's the thing that he was a fucking
like
neocon.
Yeah, they
and
were the
now we're
fathers
talking
of
about the
executive.
populist right. Obviously, if we're going to do the right versus left thing, obviously the populist right is going to have more what is considered a traditionally left-wing belief. If we're going off the paradigm from before, because of the belief in like protectionism or the belief in certain other things, the belief against free trade, against certain other obviously those things you can say that he's not right wing there, but I feel like we have a different paradigm.
Hold on. That would mean he's more to the center then, right? If he adopts some left-leaning policies or takes, and then that means you move overall to the center. Wouldn't that be correct?
Know.
No, I just think it makes you like you said, like a populist rightist. Like you can have,
he changed his ideology.
Did he though? Because it sounds like the same ideology he's been espousing since the 80s.
His ideology is being a fucking con man. Let's be honest.
I wish he kept the same social beliefs. What happened to that?
He's just a fucking con man. You guys bought the snake oil, okay? You're just gonna wait and see. It's gonna prove worthless.
That's what I keep getting told. I keep getting told wait and see, and then all the things I want to happen keep happening. So I'm like, okay.
Except for the drop in egg prices, right? Except for all this free.
Oh no, not the eggs. Not the eggs.
That's like what 50%
of for like 6 months before the election.
They didn't give a shit.
I know they didn't give a shit, but that's just further evidence of their desperate need to slob on the knob of billionaire con men. Okay, not my problem. Issue for them to work through.
I'll say that Trump is a 90s Democrat when he. Hold on.
I think
because I don't buy tons of eggs.
Wait, Gabe, did you say prices went down? Was that the
question?
question?
Didn't egg prices go down? I mean, I do know
egg
that.
prices.
But also, y'all are blaming Trump for the egg price thing with, it was old Biden who killed what a trillion chickens.
I'm not blaming
God.
anybody for
I don't think.
I feel like getting
the bird
flu pandemic would be the worst thing ever. Bird flu is like a freaking 50% death rate, something like that. Like, yeah, I understand they don't want to play with that shit. Holy crap. That would be a hot mess if that happened. Good luck. So, I mean, what I'm going to say about this, though, is for Trump being he's got a left-wing belief, or he espouses the same belief. I don't know about that, because you know what? I remember Trump of the past was, he didn't care about gay or trans people. He, was pro-choice. Where'd that go? Can he come back to that at least? If we can't have any good economic policy? Jesus,
but he has.
We can't have anything.
Hold on, he did do that. He put out for the national agenda for the Republicans. They were way lighter on the anti-gay and trans stuff. It was way lighter after he did this. I'm sure Tyler can drop it. He dropped the link previously. Like, he literally brought the Republican Party more to the left on those issues, across the.
But in 2016 or now?
Now, like in the most recent one, like when after he got nominated, it was a whole thing they put out. I'm sure we could find it, but yeah, they talk later if I need to. But yeah, they talked about how they made it more to the left. I don't know how. Like, what's crazy, and I kept saying this, is if y'all really get rid of Trump, y'all are really gonna get somebody that is an extreme right, and which is funny because I keep hearing how extreme right
like
Trump
Vance?
is.
Wait, who do you?
Oh, sorry, Vance. The past 2 years. Let's not talk about anything he said before then, because you'd find a completely different man, wouldn't you?
No, not Vance. I was thinking more of like an Abbott or somebody, but sure, Vance, it's fine. I think that if y'all hate Vance, then I can just imagine the left under an Abbott. That would be there would be a civil war. I almost truly believe if Abbott ever became president of the U.S., there would be a civil war. There's no way that the anti-gay committee would allow Abbott to go without acts of violence, major acts. He's choosing. Yeah, like he's just too anti-LGBTQ. Like he's coming down hard on that shit. Like he would be like, I'm fighting the culture war on every fucking front, and like versus like Trump will let some of that shit go. Like that's why when people are like, oh, you're gonna get whatever. Or Vance might be a problem too. I don't know. I'm not as familiar with Vance as I am with like Abbott, but like I see like there are people that are in the Republican Party that are way
That
more
are
to the right.
unironically evil. Yes.
I mean, I don't know about evil, but they're
He's
way more to the
evil.
right than Trump is.
True.
You
I
know,
don't-
That's
like
true. And there are people who are way more to the left than fucking Biden was. It's like, what? Oh, you elected Trump, so now you better watch out. We're gonna
there's not
elect
many
the
more people
fucking
left
Maoist
Kamala.
next election. Like,
You don't
like,
think there's people to the
okay.
left of
Maybe.
Kamala? Really, Gibbs?
Well, maybe I think that like actually there's a better example of this would have been Bernie, right? Like after Clinton, no, well not after Clinton, but like when they put Clinton instead of Bernie, I think Bernie honestly had like probably the best shot at that time to beat Trump because he was an answer to the same question, right? He was the populist left, and he is way more extreme than like Biden would be, right? And so it's almost like, hey, now people.
Extreme.
Right.
Quotation marks around the word.
Sure,
Okay.
sure. Well, I mean, I just call
He got
Abbott
rat
extreme, right?
fucked.
But like, I'm talking like more of the one way or the other. But I'm saying like, yeah, he got fucked. But like now, I'm seeing the same thing like from the left, right? And I'm not saying this is like as a condemnation, right? Like y'all got to figure out his own shit. But like, it doesn't surprise me when people are like propping up someone like AOC, who's way further to the left than say like Biden ever was, right? Like people turn a lot of times people go and look after something like that. They either look to the middle, which I think Trump is kind of an answer to, right? He's a populist middle guy kind of thing, but a little bit to the right, versus like, or they look to the far extreme. And so it makes sense to me to see people go look to like an AOC over like a Buttigieg in a lot of cases. Now I'm not saying that's going to be the final outcome, but it makes
feel
sense to
like-
me like why that look is appealing to some people or a large part group of them.
I guess your definition of centrist is like you get drunk, you have somebody spin you around a bunch of times, and then you throw darts at a political compass, and they all end up like around the edges, and then you just average it together, and it's kind of near the middle. So you're like
I mean, isn't that
centrist.
all is? Like, I mean, that's what you kind of have to do, right? Like, if they got like
No.
one side. But hold on, if you got like predominantly right-leaning like views, right, and then you have like, well, except for these, and they're like big ones. Like I don't know, let's go with gun control, right? Trump is pretty anti-gun, right? That's pretty like middle of the ground. Like he's like over here, like, oh, I want to put gun assault rifle bans back. He's like okay with red flag laws. He's fairly anti-gun, right? I feel like yeah, he might be right leaning on all these issues, but that definitely brings him to the center when you have a strong take on something that's traditionally a right wing value, and your take is pretty far left of center on it. Like I don't know how you disagree that you can't just go down the list and be like he's got an aggregate score of like I don't know 10, and then on this issue he's like a negative 10, so that brings his average out like.
Because
So,
I think,
like, you know
again, I
what?
think
I
it's
guess people can't call me a leftist extremist or crazy fucking commie or whatever anymore because my belief on guns should like throw it to the middle. I'm a centrist now, guys. Don't you worry about it.
Well, no, but commies traditionally have the same outlook on guns as like anybody that's on the far right. You
Oh
don't
my
like
god,
violence.
leftist Gibbs.
Hey, listen, I'm just saying, commies at least agree on the gun thing. That's one thing.
Yeah.
They agree on the
I'm gonna-
leaning side.
I think again, a lot of what Trump says, a lot of these, whatever centrist positions you think he has, just fit more cleanly into like anti-establishment things than it does into like left versus right. Like I think people
Oh.
elected Trump because they don't like the answers or they don't like how the current establishment is going, and Trump says he wants to break things, and I'm sure part of that breaking things is changing gun control regulation, but I don't think the reason he's doing that is because he has this like left-wing view on guns. I think it's just because he's a
No, he's
populist.
pretty left wing on guns. Yeah, he's pretty heavy.
He's not left wing. He's authoritarian.
I'm left wing on
Prove
guns.
The
What's
reason
that?
why you
Oh,
believe
yeah.
in some of these different.
No, I'm pro guns. I just don't have one because I don't have one. Just don't have one.
Yeah.
I have,
guess we
like-
could do-
Yeah, it
I
just seems
highly
like an
recommend everybody
expensive
buy-
investment.
Nah, they're the best. You need them. Lots of them.
I wish
all
I
over
could
your
do the
house
like
at all
guns on the wall
times.
behind you, but I have like a sliding glass door back there, so I can't
Nah,
really put
see,
anything. It sucks.
This is bad. That's the
I
opposite.
have like
I have guns everywhere.
and-
Nobody can find none of them. That's the secret. You got
Just
like
like
stash.
it is actually kind of based, but
Yeah.
I'm just a frugal gal. Okay, I've been living a frugal lifestyle, ish. I've been trying to live a frugal lifestyle. I'm not about to go get a gun. Like the one thing that I'll probably never fucking use. Okay, I'm still trying not to buy jackets I'm only gonna wear out once.
Well, yeah, I mean that's a problem here. We only can wear them one day a year anyway. You know,
True.
it's terrible.
Yeah.
Well, on that
Yeah,
note,
so
let's wrap this up here. I'm exhausted here for these two panels. I know it's a little shorter than usual tonight, but you know, I think we've circled the drain a little bit on this one. Let's go ahead, Nava. Why don't you lead us out? Give us outros, where to find you, what you got going on.
Yeah, I'm Nonfun. I'm a liberal streamer. You can come watch my streams on Twitch, Kick, and Twitter at Nonfun420, and I also stream to YouTube at Nonfun, where you can watch me defend the establishment. Also, on my YouTube channel is a bunch of old debates, a bunch of debates like this, a bunch of more heated ones as well. You should go check those out. I'm gonna be streaming for a while yet, still. So.
Fantastic. Check him out. He's a regular here. He's a good egg. Yeah, one day we'll make him a conservative. You know, I think it's going to be the economics that'll get him once he gets rich. That's the strategy I have. Yeah, what you got, Rebecca? What do you got?
well, I was gonna say I'd just like to mention Gibbs, along with many other people, are convinced I'm actually secretly conservative. I'd love for you guys to think on that for a minute. But I'm Big Papa Buckaroo. I'm not conservative. I'll never be conservative. I'm a leftist. Tried and true. I have been for as long as I can remember. My whole family is leftists. I love welfare and I love supporting the whole community, not just rich people. Big Papa Buckaroo, Twitter, YouTube, eventually Twitch.
Fantastic. Let's go to Katya.
Yeah, hi, I'm Premier Katya on social media. I am tired after this being my second panel of the night. The first one got a little wild. But, you know what? Thank you for having me on. You know, Gibbs has his, like, you know, more libertarian, sometimes more, like, left-wing social beliefs every once in a while, you know. Maybe we'll get him one day, you know. Who knows?
Yeah, see, I'll tell you what's more likely. It's me getting y'all to come over here than the other way, because y'all want my money, and I like my money quite a bit. It's a problem. You know,
why would I want your money when there's so
like
many
billionaires or something?
Yeah, I was gonna say
stealing
there are, like,
our money,
so
bro.
many billionaires whose money I really, really want and think we all have some right to. So you're not the
you pay your taxes.
you're not the person whose money I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, but you know, there's other people that want my money or my land. You know, it's a whole thing. The whole thing. We're gonna raid Nonfon here since he is the nicest to wait here. All right, everybody. It's been fun. It's been good. I'm going to figure out my life now and have some fun. We'll see y'all next week on probably Monday or probably this weekend. I think Sunday I have the Coach Kurt Stadium, so we'll be here this weekend doing stuff. We're going to Nonfon now. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all's night. Enjoy some excitement. It'll be good. Yes.
Yeah. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Nice talking to you guys. Sorry if I'm like, I was kind of like this time, because like, oh my gosh, the last panel was freaking wild, and yeah, I have my disagreements with Pentuple, we will say that much.
Oh, I will.
I always get singled out by him every time.
Oh,
he just gets to do that.
Bro, he still has my camera turned off in every debate, and I'm banned on his fucking Twitch channel too.
Oh my god.
What?
He hates me. He hates me.
Every chat I just see like, oh my god, non-fawn wearing dress, non-fawn gay, non-fawn homosexual. It's like, do they ever get new material? Like, find new material.
Real.
How many times can we say it? It's
Also,
like, and like they expected, like I'm just like, okay, base, like okay, what do I care?
Obviously.
It's so stupid. I don't know. He always likes to, you know, do this argument about like how like he's like, well, the Democratic Party's over, they should just dissolve the whole thing because you lied about Biden. There was this one scandal, so you should have to dissolve everything. You people are cooked. Nobody's ever gonna vote for you again. It's like, what? Oh yeah, the last election was a landslide. I'm like, like what? Do you have a dimensional portal and you came here from elsewhere where like it was like a 10% lead? Like I don't know.
Bro, all seven swing states, bro. Bro, didn't you see all seven? Like,
I like that much.
Dude, I clicked into that panel at one point, and Pintel was like, "Your whole thing is premised on voting for whichever candidate the Dems give you," and it's like, okay, I just vote for which candidate I think is better, and the Democrats just always put up better candidates. They always put up candidates way closer to my beliefs. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you, man.
Right, and I was trying to talk about money in politics as far as like, you know, that the parties aren't going to like put money behind candidates that are kind of like disruptors or are particularly young or untested. And like in a lot of the cases where somebody like that does get elected, it's in a very specific district, or it's in a situation where they have their own like independent wealth, which is also what happened with Trump. If they're using Trump as an example, remember he funded his own fucking campaign. Like, bro, yeah, you wouldn't be beholden to the party's money if you had your own fucking money. Wow, pissing and shitting, cannot believe it. So I mean, that was the point. I mean, but he kept going like, oh well, I would vote for a Democrat in a local election. I'm like, I'll believe it if I see like a picture of you, like a video of you submitting a ballot after proving to me that it's voting for Democrat and you got yourself fucking thumbs up. Like that's the only way.
Don't worry. He would vote for a Democrat as long as Trump endorsed them. It just has to be.
Yeah, probably. Oh shit! I have to go make my brother cupcakes. I keep forgetting that I promised to make him cupcakes, so I'm gonna go run and start that before I lose time. Have a great night. Great talking to you guys. You're both the best.
Oh, no, you. All right. I don't know. He fucking needs to calm down.
I died on Minecraft. God fucking damn it. Okay.
But I digress. Everybody needs to calm down in debates these days.
That is true. That is true. Okay, well.
You know what? I don't know. I'm just having a day of it. I think people had good ideas on that panel, though, and on this one, too. Like, I'm not trying to just pick on, like, one person, like, needlessly, though. Like, I mean, obviously there's plenty of people I agree with and plenty of people I disagree with, but, you know.
Yeah.
Whatever. Alright, don't die at Minecraft. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Fuck. My shit. I think I can get there. Dude, that was the second fucking leftist violence panel where I think I'm on another one tomorrow, man. Horseradish reached out to me and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna start hosting panels again. I'm doing one tomorrow, 8 p.m. on fucking left-wing violence." And I'm like, okay, dog, okay. Third time's the charm, guys. But Jesus. I'm sure eventually he'll host a panel on about that. So, not funny going to Raging Tomato tonight. I was just about to check in on her stream. I think the open panel starts in like 30 minutes. Just depends on what exactly they talk about. It's just not ideal. I'll probably show up at some point. The debate prompt is kind of funny. Yeah, I saw like it's liberalism here to stay or whatever. But they're interesting arguments that I could see be brought up there. Where is my fucking torch so I can see shit? It's lagging. Are you kidding me? If I die, it's the lag. I think I'll be good. Oh my god. Okay, we're good. The Raging Tomato attracts a special breed. Yeah, the YouTube panel's interesting sometimes. Are you on Shen's server? The Minecraft thing? Yeah. Okay. Okay. We're good. Oh my god. Bro. Okay. We're fine. We're fine. We're fine. Okay, what's the Raging Tomato up to? I don't think the open panel started yet. But
prime ministers. But all of this to say essentially that regardless, they take it upon themselves to, not apply their own ideology in their rulings and to look at precedents and like whatever constitutional law. Versus like the United States, I feel like there's somehow like you look at somebody who's really conservative and also working in some sort of like judicial role, and they just like they're like, okay, you're favorable to my positions, and they send them, right? So
Okay, I don't even know what you're talking about. About to turn in the 2v2t. On so many servers, most are dead activity need one or more action. There's some action on this. 3 people online. Time to start my day at that's even worse. Or although are you in a different time zone right now? We'll see you, Tyler. I appreciate you stopping by from the raid. I think. Oh, what's up? This guy. Yo.
What's up? What are you doing?
Not much. I think I don't know actually exactly what I'm gonna do. I'll probably react to Pierce Morgan slop. Maybe join a open panel.
Oh yeah, Destiny was on Piers, right?
Yeah.
Oh, if you want like some pro pally stuff, Piers had a
Thanks for
debate.
following,
He hosted a debate
No
between
cow like.
Mehdi Hassan and the John Spencer guy.
Yeah.
Holy shit, did John Spencer get wrecked? He got destroyed. It wasn't even close. He got demolished. And for a good reason. Fuck that guy. But like,
Whoa.
holy, it was embarrassing. Yeah. No, it was real bad. Yeah, he could not. Yeah, he was. Yeah, whatever. So that. Yeah, did you read the big beautiful bill?
I've read a little bit about it so far. I've read that it passed by 1 vote because three fucking Democrats died. So it was able to get passed. I've read about the whatever like MAGA accounts, which I think they renamed to Trump accounts because of course they fucking did.
Yeah, it's a good idea, but the name is evil. Yeah. No, but if you want to test your tax literacy, then react to it, and every time you have a wrong take, I'll correct you. No.
What do you mean?
But, so I don't know. I was watching Dan Malik read the bill. Look, I love the guy, right?
No
like,
Dems helped passed it. No Cal Mike.
Oh, it canceled the
passed.
student loan forgiveness. Oh, this helps the rich. What an evil policy. It's like, first of all, no. But second of all, based. Okay, I'm not. I cannot say this on his live. But based. Yeah. Or the corporate tax thing. That does help the rich, quote unquote, but it's good. It's really good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know it has full expensing, which is good, but
yeah.
Hold
still
on.
not
No Cal Mike.
but
Real quick. No Cal Mike. I'm not saying Democrats helped pass it. Democrats didn't help pass it. I'm saying 3 Democrats fucking died. So there's 3 vacancies. And that is what allowed the bill to pass by 1 vote. Even if just one of them didn't fucking die, it would have been a tie or whatever. But literally died.
Yeah.
Yes, literally 3 Democrats have fucking died because they're 80 years. I don't know why the Democrats make me do this. Okay.
Wait, is the one that died? Wasn't this like 3 days ago or something?
Maybe. 3 of them have died, so one of them could have been 3 days ago. I have to choose between, like 80-year-old people who fucking die and can't vote on bills versus like the progressive slop that
Yeah, I agree
does.
with you.
It's just like
That's why Pete Buttigieg is so like, it's like, I love this guy. I love this man. Why are you gay though? Why are you politically
real.
Why? Bro, it's bad. But yeah. If Pete Buttigieg was a woman, I would still run him, even though he would lose. Like, I just gotta. I love Pete. I love Pete so much. What a precious human being. But yeah. Either way. Yeah. So you should read the bill, or it's 1,000 pages.
Yeah,
it has some random stuff. Also some like deeply evil stuff, like banning coverage for gender affirming care under the Obamacare. Right.
Awesome. Okay.
But
Yeah.
it doesn't ban coverage for detransition. Very love to hear. It's so horrible. I have friends that depend on this. What do you
Yeah.
mean? It's so bad. But yeah, but then I was so it's always fun watching a progressive read the bill, and then they're like, okay, the student loan thing, oh, that's over. The corporate tax thing, oh, there's salt. Oh, it increases the salt cap. I'm in favor of that. It's like they have the wrong takes. Why? Stop it. It's annoying because they also like the dynamic it's always like no matter what they can find an issue with it. So, like, for example, they were talking about, whatever, like CTC. Okay, they like the CTC because it helps the poor. Yay, yay, whatever. But then it's like, oh, you can the salt cap was hurting blue states. Yeah, it hurt blue states because they're richer. They're richer,
Right,
aren't
yeah.
you? Because you hate the rich. Yeah, well, it's like no matter what, you can find an issue with it. It's like what? Come on, come on. Also, I don't know what's up. I don't know why this is happening. Patriots need to get back in control, but Micah has been posting the graph
Oh, the slop,
the changes
the relative,
in absolute
or
numbers.
sorry, yeah, the
Yeah,
absolute, not the
yeah.
relative. Yeah, I
But,
know.
but then, but then I was like, okay, maybe he just found the graph and he just posted it. But then he defended it. He was on his live and he was like, guys, I gotta defend myself from the allegations. He was like, yeah, if you have an island where someone makes $1 and you have Jeff Bezos, and you give the guy $1 and Jeff Bezos 300K, that's regressive. Like, no, you doubled his standard of living. What are you talking about? What are you talking? It's not your intuition pumping, and it's not even working.
Bro.
I want to ask him. Which what would you rather do? Give like, one guy with a yeah just I just whatever. It's like you have one guy with $1,000, one guy with $1, and another guy, I don't know. He's Jeff Bezos. And
Right.
which one would you rather do? Give like, something like I don't know. I can tweak it to make it work, but no, that's a dumb take. You look at percentages. Just look at percentages. I'm like you can complain about the bottom decile, right? The bottom decile loses money because of the Medicare thing,
Yeah.
or other things as well. Yeah. Also, be prepared. Be prepared. Okay, they're gonna say no part of the bill cuts Medicare. No part of the bill cuts
Well,
Medicare.
is it
Okay,
just
but it's tricky. You know what it does?
yeah, just because they said like they're making cuts to like the committee the energy whatever fucking committee that controls Medicare.
The what's it called? OMB, Office of Administration of the Budget, something like that.
I think
Office.
that might be it.
So there's the PAYGO Act, right, 2010.
Sure.
And it made it so if you have the debt, I forget all the details, but something like they make projections, and if there's like an increase or something, they must pay for that increase in cuts from spending, including mandatory spending or just mandatory spending or whatever. And so it's projected to be like $500 billion, and that would eat into Medicare. So it will cut Medicare, but not through what's in the bill, through its combination with like the PAYGO bill.
Sure.
You
Okay.
can find
Yeah,
an article. I can send you a PDF if you really really want, but
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, you should look into the bill. It's a roller coaster. Okay, for 1 second it will be like full expensing and the corporate tax. We extend the corporate tax lower rate, and I don't know why they increased the salt cap. Like why? Why? What's the
I
motivation?
don't
I guess
know.
because it's good for rich people. I don't know. Why? I don't know. We gotta make progressives care about taxes. Okay, but care about taxes in a way that is like open minded, not like,
Yeah.
oh, now you know how the corporate tax works, but you're still in favor of it. No. Be like, I know how it works, and now I'm against it because I know it works. Whatever. Either way, you should watch the Mehdi Hassan John Spencer. He just got. I don't know. You should watch it. If you disagree and you think John Spencer won, then let me know because that's
What are they even talking about at this point?
genocide, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not saying I agree with everything Mehdi Hassan said, but
Well, sure.
fuck, did John Spencer just could not say anything of value? I don't know. I hate that guy. But yeah. whatever. Okay. Have fun. Just needed to vent.
Oh fuck! I forgot to say talk to. I have Matt Iglesias his thing on the budget. Cato also has a thing on it. Which says basically we're saying like, oh, full expensing or whatever is good. Yeah, full expensing. Repeals they say repealing the green energy tax credits are good. I don't think that part is good. The bad stuff, adds a bunch of like random fucking deductions. 20 random tax credits, deductions, exclusions. The salt cap, which is dumb. Oh, the no tax and tips are that wasn't in the bill or whatever. That passed separately because of course it did. Unanimous Senate vote for no tax on tips, guys. Let's go. What a great. We've solved it. We fixed poverty. Okay, for like the 2.5% of workers who are tipped, and then for the it's really a smaller percentage because it's like a third of tipped workers. Maybe it might be 2/3 of tipped workers. Like make under the standard deduction, so they don't even pay like any fucking income tax to begin with. We've solved it though. No tax and tip, guys. It's over. Poverty defeated. $5 billion scholarship tax credit, which according to Cato's New Deal is unconstitutional. Blah blah blah. The MAGA accounts or whatever. Direct deposit $1,000. Optimal annual non-deduction contributions of $5,000. Qualifying distributions face capital gains tax. Why? Non-qualifying distributions face regular income tax plus penalty. Okay. Awesome, Bill. Awesome job, guys. New tax subsidies for student loan repayments, seafood processing, rural development. Oh, what's up?
Did I give you the neoliberal talking point about buy, borrow, die?
No, but I mean
The one study.
the one study. No, I don't think so. No.
Okay, so if you ever debate a progressive or something, and they're like, "We got to do infinite capital gains tax," yeah, and it's like, no, right? And then they're like, no, but the rich borrow against their assets, right? And that's how they avoid the taxes. Oh,
I mean, yeah,
I-
I mean, I would just say consumption tax fixes that, and also like they have to pay back the loan
Yeah.
with after tax income anyway. Like
that's also true, but also empirically, like there was a study came out in January. Buy, borrow, die is just not really empirically real. I can send it to you.
yeah,
I can
you
send
should
it
send
to you.
that to me. Yeah.
Now, do you want me to send you the PDF of the study or the King of the Coast tweet where he talks about the study? Because I want to look like I found it on my own. So which one do you want me to send you? I want to look like I read it. Okay. Many such cases. Many. I'll just say many such cases. But I'm open about it. Yeah. Whatever.
I think I'll just
Capital
go
gains
to
tax.
King of the Coast Twitter real quick, and I'll scroll down. I'll see.
I'll DM it to you. I sent it to you in the end. Share via direct messages. Oh wait, I need to open it on my phone. How do I? Why does it open on Chrome? How can I open it on the app? Also, why am I not logged in on Chrome? Sign in, I guess. Give me a sec. Okay, here we go. So let me send it to you in DMs. Okay, I DM'd it to you. You should see it in DMs.
Okay.
Whatever. Yeah. Oh wait, I DM'd it to you from my porn alt account. Never mind. Ignore it.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Talk to something later. Okay.
Talk to her. Yep.
Talk to her later. Bye bye.
Yeah, this is the CBO's thing, and even they estimate I think 8.4 million or whatever are gonna lose. Coverage because of this. It's a mostly fake problem, so need other justifications for tax on unrealized gains. As deficits rise and concerns about tax avoidance by the rich increase, we study how unrealized gains and borrowing affect Americans' income taxes. We have four main findings. First, measuring economic income as currently taxed income plus unrealized gains. The income tax captures 60% of economic income of the top 1% wealth holders, and 71% adjusting for inflation, and the vast majority income for lower wealth groups. Second, adjusting for unrealized gains substantially lessens the degree of progressivity in the income tax, although it remains largely progressive. Third, we quantify for the first time the amount of borrowing across the full wealth distribution, focusing on the top 1%, while total borrowing is substantial. New borrowing each year is fairly small, 1 to 2% of economic income, compared to their new unrealized gains, suggesting that buy, borrow, die is not a dominant tax avoidance strategy for the rich. Fourth, consumption is less than liquid income for rich Americans, partly because the rich have a large amount of liquid income, and partly because their savings rates are high, suggesting the main tax avoidance strategy of the rich is buy, save, die. For real. What the fuck? Okay, 11 thoughts on a really shitty house budget. Warn the poor, a death kneel for American nuclear, over $6 trillion extra debt, and more. Can we get a moment of silence for the hate/crime slash act of terrorism that occurred the other day? The other day? Wait, what? Do you mean the Israeli embassy thing? Yeah, we should have. Hold on, I need a Israeli flag overlay. Okay. At Grok, add an Israeli flag to this stream, please. Keeping with my general view that the boring, normal aspects of Trump-era governance are under discussed, I want to make sure the slow boring isn't sleeping on House Republicans for finally rolling out actual legislative text about their reconciliation mega bill. I hope Luigi and Elias both get the death penalty based. There's a ton happening in this legislation. It's such a mishmash that their acronym for it is BBB, or Big Beautiful Bill, but the TLDR is it stinks. Here's why. 1. The official score of the Ways and Means Committee draft says that it will add a $3.8 trillion to national debt, but that goes up to $4.6 trillion if you include the cost of higher interest rates. The Committee for Responsible Federal Budget says that this relies on phase-out gimmicks, and the true cost of making all this stuff permanent is $5.3 trillion, which raises to $6.2 trillion when you include interest rate cost. Dude, one of the most profound things I've ever heard about politics from an old hand was that old numbers that end in alien sound the same to people. So I want to emphasize that we're talking about 6.2 trillion here, which is a very large number. The national debt don't matter. True. Dude, by the way, interest rates are already going, or the 30-year bond, is that still at over 5 right now? It is. Cutting taxes on the rich won't cause much inflation because low MPC. Dude, I remember seeing I don't remember. I honestly don't remember the results were. I think there was a dude. I'm pretty sure I also remember seeing a fucking study from King of the Coast on Twitter about that. But I think it was probably. I mean, it's definitely like anti the MT view. I can probably find it, but reasoning from price change. Right now, 3.7% of GDP is dedicated to paying interest on national debt. That's not exactly an immediate crisis, but policymakers should try to make that number go down rather than up. 4. Medicaid cuts contained in the bill will cause 8.6 million people to lose their health insurance, and another 5.1 million will lose coverage because Republicans are planning to let premium support tax credits expire. 5. The bill contains an expansion of the child tax credit that cost $300 billion, almost or $229 billion. I rounded way up, but it's structured so as to provide no benefits for low-income families, including low-income families with working parents and earning incomes. Babe, let's go! Awesome work, guys. Let's go. Treasury market is a prediction market on when the Fed sets rates. Real. I'm not going to be able to find this, am I? God damn it. Well, members of the top 10% of income distribution will see a 3% boost in their after-tax earnings. The bottom 20% ends up paying higher taxes because the cost of Trump's tariffs is larger than the paltry benefits they get from the tax bill. I've never reasoned from a price. Sorry, I can't read. Reason from a price change. That's Contra Sumner. He does. Yeah, that is true. I don't know if that's. I mean, I think it's a reasonable assumption to make that the Treasury market is in part reacting to the budget bill, but that's not counting the cost of losing Medicaid benefits, the cost of high interest rates and car payments because of the debt load, or the cost of large cuts to nutrition assistance. 8. Everyone expected legislation to substantially repeal the Inflation Reduction Act, spending on various decarbonization incentives, and indeed, money for electric cars is gone. Money to subsidize solar and wind production is gone, but they went further than expected and are also offering a death knell for advanced nuclear commercialization and advanced geothermal. Does this just have to do with the... Hank Green has a video about the energy fucking loan thing or whatever. We used to give out loans to like nuclear facilities to start production, but Trump doesn't want to do that anymore. Not even sure why they're doing this, but they're killing off the energy department's ability to use strategic petroleum reserve to stabilize oil prices. It took a while for the Biden administration to get to yes on this, but they did eventually. But they did, and it worked. And Republicans want to stop. One of the big ways Medicaid cuts are enacted in legislation is through stringent work requirements with big bureaucratic hurdles. Note that the reason this scores as saving money is that studies indicate Medicaid work requirements do not induce additional work. People simply end up dropped from the rolls. Mike Johnson keeps characterizing this as a question of able-bodied young men getting a swift kick in the ass, but you and I know. You know, and I know, and Mike Johnson knows that able-bodied young men don't go to the doctor. The monetary savings here are coming almost by definition at the expense of other people who are consuming healthcare services. 11. A center-right tax foundation says that the new debt incurred by the bill is so large that it will reduce capital stock and therefore reduce wages and productivity. The upside is, in their view, that by increasing after-tax earnings, even though wage and productivity fall, people will work longer hours so GDP rises. On the other hand, most of the additional production ends up going towards making interest payments to foreigners. As I said, this is really, really bad. Okay, but they're going to cut taxes on tanning beds. When you're doing pure political position taking, it's smart to say popular stuff, but when you're actually governing, you need to try to do things that make sense. But Republicans started with a core idea: to fully extend the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that costs a lot of money, and rather than acknowledge that the 2025 macroeconomic situation is different from 2017, and that means it's hard to do Tax Cuts and Jobs Act extension without difficult trade-offs. They added a bunch of expensive, gimmicky Trump campaign promises. Then they wanted to offset the cost of this extremely expensive commitment while minimizing political blowback, so they came back with a mix of just not offsetting it $3.8 trillion using gimmicks and not fully counting correctly an extra $2.4 trillion, and a vicious attack on programs for poor people. Making interest payments to foreigners is bad, but a trade deficit is good. Iglesias, make sense, please, for real. Those was a total. I mean, to be fair, like, fuck, I dropped my keys that I'm fidgeting with. Pay me in tips. Yeah. By the way, just so we know, just so everyone knows, all these donations are tips. Like your exclamation with TTS in the chat to donate. Hit the super chat button. That's a tip. All this income is tips, by the way. This is my, if I just hold on, I should change the text on the bottom of my donation thing here to just say tips. This is all tips. All my income is from tips, except from ads. But the ads are like 1/10 the income I get from donations because I don't get any ad revenue on Twitch and I get minimal on YouTube. I get okay amounts on YouTube sometimes. It depends, but Doge was a total bust at identifying fraud, and Trump is increasing payments in Medicare Advantage ripoffs, and there's just zero interest in good faith effort to wrestle with fiscal problems. I'm gonna donate to you, but every dono message is gonna say income not tip. God damn it! No, my plan. Some provisions in its legislation, like the EV rollback or limiting Medicare provider, limiting Medicare provider taxes, I would find defensible in the context of a package to reduce the budget deficit, but to partially offset the cost of a regressive tax bill that blows a multi-trillion-dollar hole in the deficit, while doing absolutely nothing to address the cost of population aging. It stinks, as I've said before. Lots of right of center people have noticed that Trump is sloppy and ignorant when it comes to trade policy, but they should wake up and realize the fact that it's not just trade. Court. Okay. What is Sarah doing? Oh, I don't know if they started open panel yet still. But
Not enough.
Isn't that
that's not Sarah.
So you don't have
Well, they have.
liberalism as we define it in the United States, for better or worse. And there's still all kinds of criticisms that even make their way out into like major, news outlets in the West.
Vibe?
You're bringing it back to me. Yeah, so I actually wanted to go back to the conversation that you had, the panel with, and I'm sorry, I apologize.
Okay, well. We'll do the Pierce Morgan reaction slap, okay?
We need to kind of take a step back.
Stop hitting man.
Okay, can't wait to hear all about Biden's senility once again. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy.
Matter, everybody should feel nothing but genuine sympathy and concern for Joe Biden and his health. As a political matter, everybody should feel absolutely entitled to ask difficult questions. The Democratic Party, led by Joe Biden, said he was not only fit to be commander-in-chief, but to do it all again for another 4 years. Meanwhile, as Jake Tapper's book reports, he didn't recognize his friend and world-famous actor George Clooney. He forgot the names of even his closest and longest-serving aides. He was so frail, the staffers wanted to put him in a wheelchair and prevented even members of the cabinet from seeing him. The worries about his cognitive decline go back to at least 2019. Well, now we know that he probably had cancer for a large part of his presidency, but somehow, inexplicably, perhaps even defying credibility, it was not detected, or certainly not in a way.
I was gonna say, is Pierce actually gonna do the whole conspiracy about him, or about them knowing that he had prostate cancer years ago or whatever?
Kill me. As related to the American public. Democrats are rightly upset that so much attention is being absorbed by the last president, not the current one. But who exactly is to blame for that? Oh, right, yeah, it's them, isn't it? The people who said Joe Biden was fitter than a racehorse and smart enough for Mensa at a time when he should have been probably in a nursing home. It's very fair to ask, why should anybody trust them ever again? We're here to thrash it out. As the host of the Michael Knowles Show on Daily Wire, Michael Knowles, the streamer and commentator Destiny, Wajahat Ali, host of the Democracy-ish podcast, and the Rubin Report host Dave Rubin, whose Don't Burn This World tour is heading for Hungary, Israel, and Australia, but disappointingly, I have to say, not to the United Kingdom as yet. But I wait.
I thought you had me banned already. Isn't that what happened? We tried to come again.
No, we're all wokies are banned, but you're allowed in. Well, gentlemen, welcome to all of you. All been on our so many times. Mike, let me start with you, Michael Knowles. It's a legitimate question. You know, I was appalled by the abuse, open mockery, and glee that greeted the news that President Biden has advanced aggressive cancer that's metastasized to his bones. Simply because on a human level, whether it was him or Donald Trump or anybody else, I just think if we've reached a point where the reaction to an elderly man potentially dying is treated with great glee when they've served 50 years as a politician, I just think, sorry, I think it crosses the line. However,
Piers, I didn't see a lot of glee in the reaction. I'm not even just flacking for the GOP. From the established mainstream guys, I saw a lot of concern.
Yeah, I'm not talking about mainstream. I'm talking about general, like, people on social media. And I think it's indicative of where social media's gone. It's become...
Trump did put out a nice tweet about, or a nice fucking True Social post about Biden, okay? So, you know what? You know what? We're not that far gone, guys. Don't worry. It's all okay. Okay, we can still have nice fucking tweets about each other. Oh my god.
As we all know, because we've all got a big following, it's become a sewer and a cesspit. Right. And I just think it's actually, interestingly to what you just said, it's incumbent on people who are in the more mainstream, if you like, and I would include all of us here in a way. It's important for us, I think, to try and moderate that kind of stuff as best we can by leading by example. However, it's an important example. However, I'm just not buying this sequence of events. When I saw Ezekiel Emanuel on MSNBC talking about the fact that from his position as a very, very eminent oncologist, it just defies credibility. They just discovered this about Joe Biden, that in his estimation, they probably knew about this or should have known or must have known for maybe 4 or 5 years, even before he got elected before. Just to me, none of this adds up because I've had PSA tests. I mean, I'm 60, right? I've had them in my 50s. Most men do. And if you're the president of the United States, you're getting test after test after test after test. So what do we think we're dealing with here?
I think J.D. Vance exemplified the right reaction here, which is you say, look, we pray for the guy who has cancer, and we're all headed for the dust at some point. So let's not be too cruel about it. But also, don't allow our sympathy to distract us from the legitimate political problem that we all have a right to discuss, which is we were lied to. We were lied to by the White House doctor. That White House doctor should probably lose his medical license. Either way, if you're telling me he somehow didn't catch it until moments ago, he's a terrible doctor or he's a liar. Either way, he needs to face serious consequences.
I don't know. Do any of these guys? I mean, maybe they do. Okay, because they're all they're all men. They're all fucking 50 50 years old or whatever. I don't think Michael Knowles is 50. Destiny's only like 30 or whatever. Do any of these people know how fucking prostate cancer works? Like I'm not claiming I do, but like that's the whole issue is that like I don't know. Like I could probably Google it. I don't like. I have no clue. I have no clue if you can how soon you can detect prostate cancer. I kind of doubt any of these guys know either. But
the White House staff lied, the media lied, the Jake Tappers of the world lied, and that's a very serious problem because we already had very little trust in our established institutions after COVID. Now you've got the public health officials, the White House doctor, and you've got the White House staff yet again lying to us. One big irony in all of this, at a really low-end political level, the Democrats, when Biden's decline became clear, they decided to throw him out and replace him with Kamala Harris. And just knowing how life expectancy and metastatic cancer progresses, the Democrats would have had a much better chance getting Kamala Harris into the White House had they not instituted a coup d'etat on Joe Biden. Had they just been, I don't know, a little...
True, buddy. Wow, we have to base Michael Knowles here. Okay, we should have run Biden. This isn't really what I'm looking for. Within a few weeks, I don't know. I don't know if to Google to find this. Like how fast can fucking prostate cancer progress or whatever? I don't know what I have to Google to find it.
A bit more straightforward about everything.
I don't know. I kind of doubt Michael Knowles has done the Googling either. But
they might have gotten what they wanted, but their deceit did them in.
Yeah, I mean, whichever way you look at this, it just stinks, the sequence of events, doesn't it? I mean, does anybody believe that they have suddenly discovered about a recent president of the United States that he's got aggressive cancer in this manner? I mean, the White House said today, as Joanne said, the last time that, well, not the White House, but Biden's people have come out and said the last time he had a PSA test was 2014 for fear it would be raised concerns. I just don't believe that. Why would a man in his 70s not have another PSA test for 10, 11 years?
So I know we love conspiracy theories on this show, but let me just say first and foremost, as a father of a stage 4 cancer survivor, my daughter had a full liver transplant. When I left my daughter, she was perfectly healthy, 2 years old, 6 years ago, and then she had some bumps. My wife took her to the emergency room, and then they found out that she had stage 4 cancer. That's how it happens. So for anyone who is suffering from cancer, anyone who has a lost one, who died from cancer, sometimes it creeps up. That's number one for people to know, and hopefully people will know more about cancer as this Trump administration has cut 31% of cancer research in the first 100 days. Just want people to know that. Hopefully no one has to go through this. We went through it. Joe Biden right now has stage 4 cancer. That
Yeah, but Jai, sorry, with respect, let me stop you. You're distracting. You're very good at distracting. We're not a show that
no, not at all. I'm trying to inform your audience.
I'm not a show that loves conspiracy theories. I love talking about the reality behind conspiracy theories. Often conspiracy theories, as we've discovered in the last few years, turn out to be correct. So.
Oh my God! No way we're doing this slop now. No way we're doing the. He's gonna lab leak. Biden cover up the deep state. Oh my God! Oh dear God! No way! No way! Pierce is doing the actually conspiracy theorist the right slop now.
I'm prepared to give everything a fair hearing.
That is not true.
Well, sometimes they do, right? Some conspiracy theories turn out to be true. And then the people who call them conspiracy theories sound like idiots. I don't like promoting wild, nonsensical conspiracy theories. I don't think it's a conspiracy theory to have expected a president of the United States in his 70s.
It's, the whole, everyone has poor memory, okay? Every quote-unquote conspiracy theory that turns out to be true, okay? It's just like a way like toned down version of what the fucking conspiracy theory actually was. Like I think the JJ McCullough has a good video on this where it's like, oh, this is not a politically relevant conspiracy theory, but it's like, oh, it wasn't a weather balloon that crashed down in fucking Roswell or whatever, and it's like, okay, well, the conspiracy theory was that this is an alien fucking spacecraft, UFO, Area 51 government secret thing, and then it turns out like it was like a nuclear detection satellite that the government didn't want the Soviets knowing about, and it's like, okay, well, technically, I guess I have to give you, it wasn't a weather balloon, but it was nowhere close to what the conspiracy you said it was, and then the same thing is true of like all these, even the lab leak thing, like even if it which is not like I've ever done a ton of reading in a fucking lab leak. But even if it was the case that COVID came out of like a, Chinese lab or whatever from the gain of function research, a lot of the lab leak conspiracy shit was like, this is a like intentionally engineered bioweapon that fucking, it's like, okay, dog, okay.
To have had a basic test that all men over the age of about 55 are encouraged to have on a regular basis. I don't believe them. And I think that is enough. And if it turns out to be...
You might agree with me on this.
Go on.
you actually might agree with me on this. So here, let me just finish. Joe Biden is a very old man. Breaking news. He's 82 years old. I agree with you that Joe Biden should not have run or even announced that he was run for president, right? He was supposed to be a one-term president. I believe Joe Biden did immense damage to the Democratic Party and Kamala Harris by announcing at a very late stage that he wouldn't run, and he was pressured not to run. I think he made a huge mistake. He's 82 years old. Now, I'm all for fair and balanced. And I don't know, I'm going to take my Republican counterparts, my MAGA counterparts out there at their word right now. Let's have fair and balanced. I'm all here. Let's release all the public records. Let's release all the health records of President Biden, who's not president.
Yeah, you're gonna release Trump's real. Do you believe health or Trump's health documents, Pierce? Do you believe the the fucking resting heart rate of Trump that was released and everything? Dude, that shit was insane.
Also, let's also focus on the man who's currently president, Donald Trump. He's the oldest person to ever be elected president.
Oh, I thought he was gonna say release Trump's health records. That would have been funny, but.
He's about to turn 79 years
This
old.
is probably more relevant, to be
I
fair.
want the health records of Joe Biden. I also want the health records of Donald Trump. Specifically, I want the records of his failed assassination attempt. You know, the bullet that grazed the ear. That is very traumatic for anybody, especially a 78-year-old man. Release all the health records. Number one. Number two.
Wow, you're sounding
Donald
like a
Trump,
mad. Sorry, Vijaya. You are sounding
50-50.
With
Let's do
respect,
50-50.
with respect, you are beginning to sound like a mad conspiracy theorist.
What?
Dry skin and deeper wrinkles.
Oh my God! Advertisements.
Oh,
yes, he needs more money. Yes, yes, dude. Did his advertisers pay him in fucking tips?
Oh. What do you think? Wait, you don't think he was shot in
We gotta make sure. Gotta make sure if I ever get sponsorships, okay? The sponsors are paying me in tip money. It's not a. It's a.
Believe that. What are you getting?
I agree with
Sean. Regular income.
I agree with Sean in the ear. We do not have the health records. Those health records were not made public. I agree with Sean in the ear. I was on your show. He was shot. He survived. Release the public health records of Donald Trump. Release the public health records of Joe Biden. I'll remind everyone. The oldest man to be elected as president right now, Donald Trump. Hold. Who did I say was cover up? I'm saying, let's be honest. I'm taking you at your word.
I was trying to establish. Are you saying
people
that
need to have
you are
public
agreeing with your
transparency?
American president to cover up on Joe Biden's ill health?
People do not trust the establishment. People do not trust the Democratic establishment. People do not trust the Republican establishment. I want Americans to be informed. I agree with you. Joe Biden is a very old man. He's 82 years old. I agree with you. He should not run again. I agree with you that the Democratic establishment probably hit his decline. We saw it in real time. But what I'm also seeing right now is unfair and unbalanced coverage because President Biden ain't president. Donald Trump is president. 78 years old, about to be 79, has never been on a bike, talks about groceries like he invented the word, he's brought it back.
You're going off on one of your very good at distracting. You're very good at distracting, but let me bring in.
There's a clip. I think the same day Destiny filmed this, there was a clip he had on stream where like Trump did not know what the ICJ was, and Destiny was like, oh my God, like Trump can never get accused of senility because he's just a retard. No one expects Trump to know what the ICJ is, the International Criminal Court of Justice. So he never. So no one cares if Trump doesn't know what it is. Like it's so fucking stupid, man. Yeah,
has fallen asleep 3 times publicly in the past 3 weeks. He's 79 years old.
Donald Trump has the energy, as everybody knows, whether you love him or hate him, he's got the energy of a 30-year-old. Right?
Oh my God.
Tell him to ride a bike.
Yeah, Joe Biden.
Tell him to ride a bike.
Joe Biden was basically
Biden rode a bike last week. Tell him to ride a bike.
All right, let me bring in Dave Rubin. Dave.
Bro, I'm still waiting for the Trump versus Biden golf game. Okay, Biden's got a clock ticking down now. Okay, I'm waiting for the. They talked a lot of shit about each other's handicaps before the debate, or was it? It might have been after the debate. Oh no, it was. They literally mentioned it in the debates, didn't they? But they never did it.
Donald Trump to ride a bike.
All right, I'll give you a good hearing. Dave Rubin, I think the point here, Dave, isn't it? It's just about the fact that there is a general belief, fueled by the Jake Tapper, Alex Thompson book that's coming out now, which many people look at them and say, well, you should have blown the whistle before. They kind of admit that. Both of them have admitted that, so I think credit to them for doing that. But what the book seems to reveal is what many of us said very publicly many times. Joe Biden was unfit to be president of the United States, cognitively, physically, any other way you care to strip it. That matters. And the reason the cancer story now matters is if it turns out that they knew he had prostate cancer, which was metastasized, we don't know when. And, to your point, Vijaya, I'm very glad that your daughter's okay. And I understand sometimes cancer comes on very, very fast. But she is not the president of the United States. When you're president of the United States, Dave, you get incredible medical treatment. And you get tested for just about everything all the time, precisely to ensure that you are fit and able to.
Does Pierce even... There's no way Pierce even knows this. There's no way, like... Okay.
Run the country. So I just cannot believe that a man who was president of the United States in his 70s did not have another PSA test after 2014 for one of the most prevalent cancers that affects elderly men. I just don't buy it. And if they're lying about it, then a lie was perpetrated on the American people, which is, I think, pretty serious.
Of course, of course. First off, Piers, I want to say it's good to see you. I know we've been hitting each other a little bit on Twitter lately, but it's always fun to be on the show. As long as we're doing medical diagnoses here, I mean, I think we just saw a prime example of a symptom of Trump derangement syndrome. When someone is asked a question about what's wrong with Joe Biden's cognitive ability and now his metastatic cancer, we start talking about Donald Trump. So that's one issue.
He first of all, he answered the questions. Like he just also shifted it to, hey, by the way, Trump is president right now. If you care about cancer so much, you should probably care about the president cutting cancer research. But they don't want to defend that, so they're just going to be like, oh, I can't believe this guy wouldn't focus on the Biden age cover-up bullshit. Like,
as to everything else you said, Noel's absolutely hit it on the head. There is an unbelievable layer of conspiracies here, because either we are to believe that Joe Biden, the president of the United States, the 82-year-old president, former president of the United States, that his doctor was completely incompetent at every level, meaning he didn't catch what is now very, very advanced, very easy to catch prostate cancer. As you said, you're 60 years old. You've had these PSA tests. Yep. I checked on Grok this morning. Grok recommends that men.
I am going to game end myself. Oh my god. Oh my dude. Did he get sponsored to say that or something? Did he? Dude. I bet fucking Elon Musk is texting Dave Rubin, okay, saying, hey bro, I'll pay you $20K if instead of saying you Googled something, okay, you tell people you asked Grok. Oh my god.
Usually at about 45 years old, and that's what ChatGPT says as well. And you can talk to virtually.
Oh, I am actually going to game end myself.
Doctor that says that. See, this is the kind of obfuscation that you guys do with everything. We all know that men somewhere in their 40s and 50s. We all know that men in their 40s and 50s should be getting this test annually. So either his doctor was completely.
Dave doesn't want to answer. I can't believe Dave won't answer that.
Negligent and hid that, but it's not just that, because he was also either completely negligent or a buffoon or a criminal when it came to what was going on with Joe Biden cognitively. Why is it, Piers? I'm not from the future. I don't have a DeLorean or a flux capacitor or anything else. Why is it that in 2019 I was doing videos, you can find them online, of Joe Biden's cognitive ability? It's because everyone could see it right in front of our face, and they told us not to see. So there's multiple layers of conspiracy here. And as it pertains to Jake Tapper, and Alex Thompson is the guy that I guess co-wrote the book, and the poor guy, he's going into all these interviews with Jake, and he's just like, ooh, I hope they don't ask me a question. It's embarrassing, because the scandal is not just that doctor, she's a doctor, right? Dr. Jill Biden, and the insiders were hiding this, and what did Biden even know what he had or anything else? The scandal is that the media ran in cahoots with the Democrat machine or the Biden machine or whatever you want to call it. So there's multiple layers of a medical.
How can you? That's what I'll never get, bro. Like, there was I can like understand saying there's a Biden age cover-up, insofar as the administration didn't tell on itself, right? Like, there are probably people who interacted with Biden who saw that Biden was fucking demented or whatever, like, before the debate and everything, and didn't speak out about it, because no administration would have that. Like, no one, that's just not a thing that's like almost ever going to happen unless it's actually like unhinged, like 25th Amendment worthy or whatever. But the media has so like heavily criticized Biden for his age issues for like nonstop, especially after the debate, but even before the debate. But there was a ton of media coverage over Biden. One of the main complaints the Democrats had after the debate or whatever was like, Trump can like just spout lie after lie after lie after, like, and it doesn't matter, because all people focus on is like Biden's age. Every single op-ed is just Biden too old, Biden must drop out. Like, I don't know. I don't know how you can believe that.
Scandal, because there's more than one issues there, but there's multiple layers of I would say a cultural scandal, which pertains to how the White House released information and how the media used that information or hid that information.
I agree. David, were those the videos that Russia paid you to make, or was that your
all right, let's leave that.
Every time I'm on the show, you do know that the Department of Justice closed the case, and you do know that I'm talking about it right now, so that has nothing to do with me. But
and I would add a third. I would add a third. Do you know? I don't give a fuck. So let's just move back to the debate. Destiny.
So you weren't paid by Russia. Okay.
Look, if you want to ask him on your own show and ask him those questions again, go and do it on your own show. Would you? Let me bring in Destiny.
Fair enough.
Destiny, I do think this matters. Do you?
I'm going to be honest. I haven't followed the news recently, and I lose track of this sometimes. Right now, who's the president? Is it Trump or is it Biden? Because every single day I turn the news on, Trump is talking about Biden. The conservatives are talking about Biden. Everybody's talking about Biden. It feels like that is the only thing that these people can ever talk about because they're trying to take away attention from Trump's disastrous econ policy, from the utter failures that he's running into over and over and over again with all of the courts, with the insane arguments that they're putting in front of the Supreme Court, trying to get rid of things like birthright citizenship. But for some reason, we're talking about Biden again. Also, it's no surprise the conservatives are once again. There is no scandal. There is no evidence of any scandal whatsoever. It's just more conservatives saying again that they know nothing about medicine.
There's no evidence of a scandal.
The man was not competent to be president of the United States. You say the man wasn't competent to be president. I'm curious. Can you show me a single time when Joe Biden sat down and had EOs brought to him and explained to him that he'd never seen before, like we see Trump sign on almost daily basis? One example.
Well, they didn't bring them to Joe Biden because an auto
exactly. You have no examples of that. No.
Oh my God! There's no way Dave Rubin actually believes that either. He's lying. He's just being bad faith. Like.
You have no expression. Donald Trump is worse. Donald Trump is worse. That's great, but you can see videos of Biden explaining. Hold on, let me finish my answer. For all of these people that are so concerned about Biden's health, everybody got so offended when Elon Musk was asked about his ketamine abuse. So they said we had no right into the minds of the drug use or the medical records of people that might be involved in major parts of the government. That he was involved in dismantling huge parts of the government. He was the president's right-hand man. Just right there, we just heard another pivot, another abdication of responsibility. The reality is conservatives know nothing about medicine. All of you guys on here saying it's totally common to test for prostate cancer past 50. It's not. Past 70 is not recommended. Believe it or not. And I know in the movies and in the TV shows.
Justin, he did actually do the Googling. That's crazy.
For every single thing at every point in time. You can't test for every single thing at every point in time. You don't do that because you get a lot of false positives.
How long does that PSA test take you? When you do that PSA test annually, how long does that take you? Is that a big problem for the doctor?
It takes 3 minutes.
Over the age of 70, you do not test men for prostate cancer. It's just not recommended. You can't test for
it is if you're the president of the United States and you've already had a test in 2014.
From ordinary human conditions? No, of course not. You can't test for every single disease at every single point of your life. Unfortunately, you just can't do that.
Okay, Michael, let me bring you back in.
What have you considered, Destiny? He's the president. He's the president, and Pierce clearly. Someone who is knowledgeable on this. Again, it's insane. It's insane to me. None of these people did the most. I guess Dave Rubin asked fucking Grok. Okay, at least Dave Rubin asked ChatGPT and Grok. But none of these people could have been bothered to at least Google whether prostate or screening for prostate cancer is recommended for someone of Biden's age. Like Pierce couldn't be bothered to Google that. Pierce couldn't be bothered to have a fucking dude. Sam Harris mentioned this once where he was like, "Oh, Joe Rogan has the money to just hire, a journalist or two to like fact check like everything he's saying, and Pierce could do the same thing. Pierce could have like an actual reputable journalist in the room at any given time that is able to just fact check, what he's saying, but he doesn't do it. Okay, he doesn't do it. Pierce can't have, he won't have anyone doing that.
Yeah, I think, look, the conversations would be very revealing. But Jar hat on massive distraction technique, and Destiny basically saying old people shouldn't have tests that might save their life.
Just to be clear,
yeah, that's what Destiny said, Pierce. You're such a great listener. True.
Look up, when do you test for prostate cancer? You don't test that. You can Google it right now, put it on the program. Everybody can type it in.
Are you arguing that they shouldn't have tested Joe Biden, who now has metastatic cancer in his bones? Are you arguing they shouldn't have tested him?
It's a blood test. I bet the President of the United States probably has a weekly blood test. Probably.
What do you think a blood test is? Do you think you can test for every single possible thing in your blood?
It's so easy to test for PSA. Your PSA literally is one thing. It's easy. If you're struggling with sleepless nights and exhausting days, you might want to try Beam's Dream.
Oh my God.
Anyway, look, I want to move on from this to James Comey talking of wild conspiracy theories. Just call me bonkers, Michael Knowles. I don't mind what you call me. But the idea that a man who was the director of the FBI, the top lawman in America, was wandering along a beach and saw some seashells with the numbers 86, 40.
I hate this country, man. I actually hate this country. I cannot believe this is where. Dude, if we're having a panel, about fucking Biden's mental decline, can the other half of the panel be about something bad Trump did, and not just another fucking James Comey 8746 violence from the left thing? Oh my God, why can't we talk about anything, even anything? What's this guy? I don't remember this guy's name. That he mentioned that Trump is like, cutting $100 billion worth of cancer research in a bullshit fucking bill they just passed, or the tariffs, or the
47, and he had absolutely no idea before putting it on his Instagram that this might be interpreted as meaning a desire to kill President Trump. Here's his explanation on MSNBC.
Was there anything in the back of your mind that said, maybe I just shouldn't post this?
Yeah, no, literally nothing, because it seemed entirely innocent and clever to me. I have never, and actually still don't associate 86 with violence, but because I heard that some folks were, whether they do that reasonably or not, I don't want any part of it, and so that's why I took it down from my Instagram.
This is horseshit, Michael. He's
James
just
Comey-
lying. He's lying.
Look, I want to be as fair and charitable as I can. James Comey is a huge weirdo with artistic pretensions. Do you remember when the Robert Mueller investigation came out? James Comey took this bizarre photo of himself in the woods looking up at the sky. So I don't want to understate the chance that he's just a weirdo. However, you have to take the context here in. If he says, well, 86, you know, to get rid of somebody, that doesn't imply violence. Okay, maybe he's just kind of ignorant and obtuse, but within the context of President Trump, who was nearly murdered twice, one time with a bullet hitting his ear, coming within a 20th of an inch of blowing his brains out on stage, when you have the entire Democratic Party, all the way up to Joe Biden, who predicated his presidential campaign on the notion that Donald Trump posed an existential threat to the country, that is to say, justifies his assassination. Within that context, Comey had to know. Either Comey is the dumbest person on earth, or he knew what he was doing. And I want to be charitable. I think he kind of knew.
I don't want to be charitable. Sorry, Bajai. This is bullshit, and you know it is, don't you?
There's no way they believe what they're saying, bro. There's no way they believe this. There's no way. I cannot believe that they believe this. They are too. I cannot believe two intelligent men unironically believe this. There's no way. There's no way. After like you can go to Amazon. They might be taken down now and just look up like 86 Joe Biden or 8646 or whatever. And there's like there's a ton of fucking T-shirts that say that because it doesn't actually mean to fucking kill anyone. It's not actually associated with violence. It just means to basically impeach someone or remove them or something. Like it doesn't.
Come on, just a minute.
So, if MAGA does believe that James Comey was intentional in posting that an 86 means kill, then like I said in your last answer, I want everything to be fair and balanced. I'm trying to bring people together. Like you said in the last one, release every single information about Joe Biden's public health.
Do you believe James Comey when he says, do you believe him when he Instagrammed the picture of 8647 to the former FBI director? I had no idea what that meant.
You're going to like my answer. You're going to like my answer. I'm fair and balanced here. If you truly believe, and if my co-panelists here, my MAGA co-panelists believe that James Comey intended that 86 meant to kill Joe Biden, and you want to investigate him, I say fine. But then you also have to investigate Jack Posobiec. Oh, you know, the MAGA dude who literally sold merchandise while Joe Biden was trying to say 86,
Stop the
46.
distraction.
Wait a second.
Focus on the story.
Oh my God.
If you think 86 means to kill, then you have to prosecute Jack Posobiec, who was making money off of merchandise that's at 86.46 while Joe Biden was president. Then you have to also investigate Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz, let me finish. Matt Gaetz said 86, not Democrats. Matt Gaetz said 86 Republicans, including Mitch McConnell, right? So, and Kevin Johnson. So, maybe if you want to prosecute James Comey, I'm being fair. If you want to prosecute James Comey, you got to prosecute Jack Posobiec.
But once again, Majai, you're not answering my simple question. Do you believe Comey or not? Yes or no?
I do not believe that James Comey and the overwhelming majority of people who like that thought that it meant killing Donald Trump. The person who tried to kill Donald Trump was a Republican, a Trump supporter, a gun nut. It means 86. If anyone's worked in restaurants or is a waiter, 86 means to cancel an order.
Donate to Act Blue. $15 donation to Act Blue, bro.
Comparison is because we're not saying in all contexts 86 always means you want to murder somebody. We're saying that in the context of Donald Trump,
you guys are getting desperate.
Murdered twice.
You guys are getting desperate. Donald Trump is underwater, Michael and David. You guys are getting really desperate.
That they tried to kill Donald Trump twice. You know what else happened twice? He got impeached twice as well. So maybe 86 could be in the third impeachment attempt.
True.
All right. Well, first off, I'm really amazed by Wajat's authenticity and honesty. It's really quite remarkable, and I'm sure nobody can see through it.
Russia didn't pay me. Just me.
The guy should have a pin over here. I tell the truth. It's really incredible.
How can there's no way. There's no way Dave Rubin believes this. There's no way. It is literally. I've never been so disappointed. Okay, I've never been so disappointed with the state of discourse in our country, okay, than I am now. I cannot believe, once again, that two adult men, Pierce Michael Knowles, or three even, because it seems like Pierce Michael Knowles and Dave Rubin are in agreement for all these things, and they actually believe this. They actually think it's a worthwhile discussion to have about whether this means to fucking kill Trump. And discussing how often president should be screened for prostate cancer, apparently.
So the other thing about 86, and I'm impressed, I doubt you ever worked in a restaurant. I did, and yes, it's true. If they don't have the porterhouse anymore, you 86 the porterhouse. That means you don't have it anymore, so the waiters know when they're going out there. But the other thing that the 86 came from was the 86th floor on the Empire State Building.
Pierce is rarely genuine.
Floor on the Empire State Building is? That's the observation floor, and that's where the mafia in the old days used to take guys that owed them some money and toss them off the roof of the Empire State Building. That is a fact. You can also check that on Grok or ChatGPT or whatever your favorite search engine is. Now, as to whether he meant literally when he was just wandering the beach and he magically sees these numbers and thought it was artistic and whatever else, as to whether he actually was trying, as the former FBI director, to instigate someone to kill Donald Trump, I can only leave.
Every time Pierce says something like, "Oh, you honestly, Justin, you really believe that presidents don't get screened for prostate cancer? Wait, if you're the president, you're getting screened for everything all the time." Like, there's no, Pierce knows he's owned, okay? Pierce knows he got gaped because he didn't know that apparently you don't screen for prostate cancer when you're over 70 or whatever. Like, He's not a. He's a bot. Okay.
That up to what is going on in his heart and in his soul. I suspect that's not the truth. I also am not somebody that wants to jail everybody for a bad joke or a stupid picture or anything else. So whether it was any of those people that you just mentioned that had done that previously,
Are you
I'm
a
not
righty or Democrat or a lefty? I guess I'm a Democrat.
jailing the guy for it, but I think we can call a spade and know that if the shoe was on the other foot, these people would be going absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
So I think this one is pretty clear.
No question. Okay,
Maybe
Destiny.
they should wear a MAGA hat. Maybe wear a MAGA hat and try to 86 the election and try to take on Mike Pence. You know, like the violent insurrectionist
Okay.
that Donald Trump pardoned and now has given $5 million.
I tell you what,
No,
if
this guy tries hard. I admire that.
there was an Oscar ceremony
like,
for playing
liberal,
Whataboutery,
yeah.
you, my friend, are the Daniel Day-Lewis of the
Hypocrisy about naming Piers Morgan.
Whataboutery
All of this
Oscars.
is a whataboutery. All of this is a whataboutery away from Donald Trump's presidency. Anything to discuss
Gross
anything
nude.
besides the multiple times he's referenced the Second Amendment, but
Okay.
besides the time he tweeted out the video of the,
Well,
of
let's
the
talk about
tied up Joe
Destiny.
Biden in the back of the truck.
It's a
all
TV
of
show,
the
and they were doing
comments
a
like,
segment about what the
oh, yes,
former
there's
FBI
always an
director
excuse.
All
There's
right, well,
always a
best
reason.
supporting Whataboutery winner is you, Destiny. I want to talk about quickly about a conspiracy theory, and you're going to like this, Vijaya, because this
Oh my
involves
God.
conspiracy theory
Oh
about
my
Jeffrey
God.
Epstein and whether he did take his own life or not. Incredibly, and you might be startled by this,
How are we? Dude. Okay, at least. I guess you know what. I guess Kash Patel talked about it. Okay, you know what. I guess this is what a relevant political discussion. Okay, because Kash Patel and that other dude had to come out and say that they didn't find any evidence that Epstein didn't kill himself. Hey, it's daytime.
Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, two people you probably think lead the charge in conspiracy theory spreading, investigated this and announced the following.
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. You want me to? I've seen the whole file.
So, Vijaya, there we have a wide-ranging conspiracy theory quashed by Dan Bongino and Kash Patel unequivocally. I presume you, as a man who abhors conspiracy theories, and that's your
What does he mean by quash?
You would like to immediately applaud them.
I don't think. I don't know if anyone. I don't know if anyone who believed in it before is not going to believe in it now. That Kash Patel, he's been corrupted by the deep state. Yeah, I know. Yeah, clearly. As soon as you walk into the FBI, okay, the deep state fucking mind control devices activate, and you start parroting the FBI lines. Okay, you turn into an FBI deep state bot.
For clearing this up.
All I got to say is good luck, Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, because never go full conspiracy theorist. This is going to be MAGA eating its own tail. You know the people who are really pissed off here? Not me, MAGA. Because MAGA wants the public records of the Epstein files. They were promised it. And now Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, who promoted the conspiracy about the deep state, right, and pro-January 6th, now they are the deep state, head of the FBI and the deputy. And guess what? MAGA is pissed off. And the reason why, probably, they don't want to release these records is Jeffrey Epstein, according to his own words,
Some of the anti-government people are going to turn on their sanity when the government tells them what actually happened.
Oh my God, you're about to spread the worst.
How was the insane Gibbs debate? The Gibbs debate today was not insane. It was pleasant. It was pretty short, but.
Wow.
What? No, they're friends.
Are you suggesting Donald Trump killed Jeffrey Epstein? Is that what you're doing, having announced you hate conspiracy theories?
You said that.
Is that your position?
No, I think he killed himself. I think Dan and Kash Patel are actually honest. I think he killed himself. But MAGA's pissed off right now because MAGA was promised full release of the public files. Pam Bondi hasn't done it. Kash Patel hasn't done it. Dan Bongino hasn't done it. If you're paying attention to MAGA right now, they're divided right now, and they're going after Dan and Kash, and this is going to be a huge problem for MAGA. Not for the rest of us, not for the normies.
Hold on, I
but
thought
this
I
is
was
why
the
he's
normies.
gonna
I wouldn't be quite so hasty with that
I were
self-description.
representative of MAGA. Can we get in on this?
Yes.
I'm not going after Dan Cash. I don't know Cash personally. I know Dan pretty well, and I trust Dan. I don't think Dan would lie. You got to pay attention not only to what Dan and Cash said, but what they didn't say. They didn't say that Jeffrey Epstein's suicide was all on the up and up. They didn't say that Jeffrey Epstein didn't have connections to intelligence agencies. They didn't say that Jeffrey Epstein wasn't permitted to kill himself. The fact that you had malfunctions of multiple security cameras and multiple guards not showing up. They didn't say that Jeffrey Epstein didn't, as Alan Dershowitz suggested the other day, pay the guards off to allow him to kill himself. There's still all sorts of questions about it. There's very legitimate questions, unless you, Wajat, think that the Jeffrey Epstein case was just open and shut and there's no reason to dig any deeper. Obviously, there are very legitimate questions about it. But what Dan and Cash said can be true, and there can still be much more to learn about the corruption that involves.
I am actually going to Jeffrey Epstein myself, man. How is it? First of all, again, why do we care? Why do we care about this? Why do we care about this? Why do we care about this? Why do we still care about this? What the fuck? Is at least one topic, okay, in this fucking entire panel gonna be about an action Trump did, or is it all gonna be? Is it all gonna be Biden old? the deep state.
Very, very high levels of government.
Well, the biggest conspiracy theory, which I think happens to be true, is that there were clearly a lot of very high-profile people who knew what Jeffrey Epstein was up to and have never been held to account. And it is completely ridiculous. Yes. The only person languishing in a prison in America for any connection to do with Epstein is Ghislaine Maxwell, his madame, who helped him facilitate a lot of this abuse and is quite rightly serving a very long prison sentence. But no man has ever, who was participating with him, has ever been brought to justice. I mean, that is ridiculous. I want to ask you, Destiny, about something that's just been dropping, which is about Bruce Springsteen told a UK crowd that Donald Trump was unfit and treasonous. Trump responded in his normal, calm, self-effacing manner, called him a dried-out prune of a rocker on Truth Social. Highly overrated, Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah, okay, you know, careful with what you wish for, okay? I guess technically this is an action that Trump did, in fact, do. But, you know, it's not exactly what I meant.
Not a talented guy, just a pushy, obnoxious jerk. And then he posted this video. And my question...
Incitement to violence, okay? Very clearly calling for the assassination of Bruce Springsteen.
Destiny, can you watch that with a straight face? And it appears you can. Did you not find that even vaguely funny?
Every time I see a picture of the 9% body fat, 180-pound, rippling muscled Trump because of the very real medical report we saw that assesses his physical condition, I'm in awe of him. I do agree with what Bruce Springsteen said, though. And I think the courts are basically reaffirming this, that Donald Trump is doing everything he can to destroy rule of law in this country. And that's why we are so desperate to talk about literally anything else, even if that's the prostate of the former president, than what Trump's current behavior.
I've got a question for you, just to see whether your own health and whether your own Trump derangement syndrome is at an advanced aggressive stage.
God.
And it's this. Do you give Trump any credit for reducing the number of illegal people coming over the southern border by 96% in 3 months? Yes or no?
It's a strange question. Like,
not really. It's a very simple.
It kind of is.
It's a very simple, factual question.
If you had cancer of the brain and I cut your head off, would you give me credit for getting rid of the cancer? I mean, wow. I guess. I mean,
you don't think it's an achievement?
Illegal immigration has definitely decreased all of our.
It appears just not understand the analogy there. Like again, like if you had is it not an achievement if I remove your brain cancer by cutting off your head? It's like, okay, well, yeah, you have achieved that goal, but probably in a kind of bad way. Like Trump has basically stopped. Trump, my understanding, okay, not a lawyer, okay. My understanding, Trump has basically stopped like any asylum claim from immigrants at the border, and that is not legal. That is not. You cannot. The executive branch does not have the authority to do that. You would have to pass a law to do that, but Trump has not passed a law about the border yet. I don't even know if he will. Borders fairly irrelevant to the vast populace of America. Well, it's a big issue in the election. People, I don't think it actually, personally affects many people other than those living near the border. But people really, there's a lot of people who cared about immigration during the election. I don't think it was irrelevant then, but.
Our tourism has decreased. If part of the reason why the immigration or illegal immigration has decreased is because nobody wants to come to this country anymore because they can see it's turning into a massive shit show. I mean, does he get credit for that? I guess sure.
Can I defend it?
Yes, you can.
I think it has to do with the foreign
tourist. Listen, as a
to be honest with you, Dave, it doesn't even have to be defended. Obviously,
it doesn't have to be defended.
Obviously, it's a stunning achievement, which everybody should say is a great achievement.
I'm a laminated card-carrying member of MAGA. I go to the meetings with Knowles. He brings the cigars. I bring the tequila.
He's not going to actually engage with anything Destiny said, by the way, about people not wanting to come here because the country's turning into a shithole, or, the fact that as basically collateral to the ICE detentions and everything, tourism in America has dropped significantly. He's not going to actually engage in any of that stuff. He's just going to be like, he's going to probably deflect to Biden again. He's probably going to say Biden, open borders. He's just gonna say the Democrats said they needed a bill. Trump proved he didn't need a bill.
We talk about these people. Look, I can easily defend the border. I can easily defend the trade deals. I can easily defend what he's doing in the Middle East. I can easily defend what he's doing with Russia, Ukraine. I can easily defend what he's doing as it relates to getting wokeness out of schools and blowing apart the Department of Education. You can defend all of those things very easily.
Any one of these topics, Dave, all of these.
Can you defend this, Dave Rubin?
The entire world market is shuddering. The bonds market is shuddering as a result of these things, and nobody agrees.
Well, actually, the stock market's actually doing fine. Now everyone's calm.
Oh my God! There's no way Pierce believes it. The stock market is actually doing fine, guys. Like, I just want to. I don't know if this is a good question to ask because it's like such a, it's so retarded. Everyone is so retarded on this somehow. First of all, to the extent the stock market has recovered, it's recovered largely because Trump has backed off from the tariffs and said, actually, I'm not going to do these insane fucking tariffs anymore. But we're still going to have at least a baseline 10% on like almost every import coming to the coming into the U.S. other than like fucking beef from the U.K. or whatever. That's not a legally binding agreement yet, though. So who knows? We might not even get the exemption for UK beef. All right, who knows? But it's so obvious. If Trump had never said the word tariff, if Trump had never said the word tariff, the stock market would be higher today than it is right now. That's the relevant thing. That's the relevant thing. Okay, that's not it. Like, and like I think that's basically undisputable. I don't think you shouldn't. There's no serious argument to be made that the stock market would be lower today if Trump had never announced any tariffs in the first place. There's no serious argument to be had on that behalf. The stock market is still lower than a counterfactual of Trump never announcing tariffs, and I think that's undisputable.
Down and stop shaking and screaming. It's actually fine.
All the losses were.
Dave Rubin, quick question though. The really big debate.
Markets are not fine, but go ahead.
Well, they are. Dave Rubin, straightforward question. The most contentious thing of all is the boss Bruce Springsteen overrated?
Yes, he's overrated. First off, I'm a Long Island guy, so you go to Billy Joel as the default. But any day, you know who
I hate this
I will
world.
take over Bruce Springsteen any day. About a month ago, I had the honor of interviewing 90-year-old Frankie Valli, and that guy is still out there performing.
Yeah, but his voice is gone.
He's doing
His voice
it every
is gone.
night on the road.
Yeah, but his voice is gone. The boss. I mean, come on, with Jar Hack, can we find common ground? I think Bruce Springsteen's fantastic. I don't agree with his view about Trump, but I don't think Trump's right to call him overrated.
Great. I mean, Bruce Springsteen, look at his catalog. Fantastic catalog. You can disagree with his politics, but how can you knock an American icon, Bruce Springsteen? And show me that you're out of touch without telling me, and I'll show you Dave Rubin. He'll go for Frankie Valli instead of Bruce Springsteen. But all right.
Four
That's how you win over the
they were
kids.
great.
Yes.
Jersey Boys is one of the all-time great movies too.
That means you're out of touch because Frank Sinatra is old and dead. Yeah, that's really terrible if you listen to him.
Yeah, Frankie Valli, total legend. But Michael Knowles, the boss, overrated?
I love Thunder Road. Okay, it's a great song, and I love Atlantic City, even though I think the band did a better version than Bruce Springsteen did. So, look, I like the boss. I think he's pretty good. I also agree he's a little bit overrated. People try to make him into Bob Dylan. He's not really Bob Dylan, and he does kind of look like a dried-up prune. So I think what Trump said is true, although I still love my Jersey Shore Bobs.
Okay, Destiny, can we find any common ground here? Is the boss overrated?
Listen, I grew up listening to Linkin Park and Third Eye Blind and these other bands, okay? So it's not out of my generation, unfortunately. I have no strong opinion here.
Here, Piers, in the spirit of bringing us together, I want to send Wajid a gift after the show. I don't know have his mailing address, but I just wrote "You Tried" and I signed it on a piece of paper here. So can you guys just get this to his people? Would that be possible? Because he tried real hard today, and that's important.
Did you write it, or was it in Russian? Do it in Russian for me. It'll be more authentic.
Still trying. I'll even sign it again.
Comrade Rubles. Do it in Russian, and I'll believe you.
Gentlemen.
Yeah, look at this guy.
Just leave it to Comrade Rubin. I think that's got a nice little ring to it, actually. Gentlemen, thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
Take care.
Thanks.
Well, join me now in the Uncensored.
What I cannot. Okay. I guess they're never. Okay. I guess we're never addressing anything. Okay. Dude, I cannot believe. I'm Pierce Morgan. I'm gonna set up a panel, and we're gonna talk about. They talk about Biden for two of the big topics. The last topic, like I said, technically, I guess it is an action Trump did that he fucking tweeted about Bruce Springsteen or whatever. All of them are completely fucking retarded on the whole tariff stock market issue. Oh my God, we don't worry, guys, we recovered. Guys, guess what? Okay, things have opportunity cost. Holy shit, there is actually a universe out there where we didn't tank the stock market for no reason. That's crazy. We're still gonna have a 10% tariff on basically everything coming over anyways. Like, what? Kill me. None of them engage with any of the actions that they mentioned. Like, for example, like the cancer research thing. Like they just didn't care at all.
Well, I say
word. That's not a word.
Yeah, I want to hear somebody debate outside
the word
of that,
republicanism.
Right? Republican, right?
What do you mean?
I'm a Republican.
Okay, you're a Republican, so
Got nothing better to do.
you can be an asshole to the guy, or you can approach him in the spirit of the question.
I like
you know.
being an asshole. I'm gonna stick with that one.
How are they different?
Sorry, Pursuit. Just said
Pursuit.
no. He was fighting for you to come back on,
This
and
is
then
about
he's
to
like,
get
you know what? Fuck
expensive.
it.
Nev,
Can anybody tell me?
Nev,
Yeah.
you probably should not have Pursuit backing you up if
I
you want
can-
your cause to move forward.
Look, no,
So I can
that's why I
absolutely tell you
conceded.
five-
That's why I conceded there after your 1v1. Because yeah,
I just like
Yeah,
Can I get five and answer?
I'm really
Question
like
this?
I really look at the whole world and the way that we're doing things as what can give us the best positives and the least
Yes,
negatives, you know?
for sure.
And I mean if
Yeah.
liberalism can provide that, then I'd like to
Yeah.
understand how.
For
But
sure.
I've never had anyone who could actually show me
Mhm.
how liberalism would provide more net positives than
Yeah.
some of our religions do, and yet no net negatives, or
I think the
you know,
I think
or
in your
minimal.
question,
right?
yeah, you've been gish galloping about this for the last 5 minutes. I think baked into your question is this necessity of some sort of like objective morality, right? So that's
Right.
baked into your question, and I think that. And somebody who,
social
who values
construct.
individual rights, like why would I care about that, right? Like why would I care about your need to find that sort of particular solution? Even in the context of this conversation, it's like you're one you know person, right? Like who cares? Oh, actually, wait. No, maybe it is important that we figure this out, because again, secular people are individuals. We all have preferences, but religious people are monoliths. So I actually could learn a lot
I'm
from
not
you.
arguing this from a point of religion. To be clear, okay? I'm arguing this from the point of the secularist who believes that all morals are nothing but a social construction. And I'm asking you.
Oh, is that my position?
What does no? That's
Did
the
I state
position I'm
that?
taking
Oh, so
right
why
now.
are we fighting? Why are we fighting on that?
Because I'm asking you questions from the secular mind. I'm asking you questions
You're
that
doing
are fair.
you're doing a bad job.
that
You're
will-
doing your bad
that they will
job
ask
because
you,
your
that I will
because your
ask you
questions
that-
are baked in. No, your questions
No, I'm
bake
not
in the
baking
necessity.
anything in. I'm literally
Yes, no,
not
your
baking
questions
anything into my
baked
questions.
into your
I'm not baking
questions.
necessity. I'm not baking any
Has
of
the
that.
necessity for
Even
objective
giving
morality. Yes.
caveats.
So you're doing a bad job of the secular.
I'm even giving
thinking.
caveats. All right.
Okay.
No. Most secularists that I know would say that our morals and our religions are based upon our preferences, are nothing but a construction of the mind, which is a social construction. So, I mean, I get that you don't like that term, and I'm not trying to like cause a problem or a
just
fight here.
don't.
I'm
care
asking you.
what you're- I don't
and this
care.
is the thing, though. This
It's
is
just
what people
quite
actually
clear.
care about. Like, if you
Yeah.
want your
Yeah.
if you want your worldview to go forward, and for people to listen to it, you need to show them more net positives, less net negatives
My-
for society.
My
This is what you need
worldview
to
will
show them.
persist. My worldview will persist by virtue of religious imposition. You guys create more liberals than you will ever understand, and I think through that nature.
I don't necessarily disagree with you.
No.
Don't
okay,
you
well,
don't you
don't
think
necessarily
that
disagree with you on that.
This
I
whole
still don't
conversation is really
see.
weird, Cleaner. It's
I
like
still
you're
don't
being
see what that
completely
has to
ignorant
do.
all the evils that religions have done to like
No,
everyone
I'm not.
and each other.
I'm not.
Yeah, no, you are because
I
you're
don't
not
even care
accepting
about
the fact
I
that
don't even care
liberalism
about
is the
the
thing that
evils
allows for
that
freedom of thought and expression
liberalism
and
or
personal autonomy that
democracy
allows
or
between them.
republicanism or I don't care about the evils that any of them have done. When we're talking about prescriptions, I'm not talking about what they have done to each other. I'm talking about the actual prescriptions for how people should live in a society.
Yes,
All right?
yes. We know you want to drag this conversation into moral ought, and you want to have your little circle jerk.
I'm not even
around that
talking about
topic.
morals.
I'm saying we're subjecting it. You kind of are. You kind of are. Yeah, you kind
Net
of are.
positive,
Whether
net
you
negative
believe it
is
or
not morals.
All right,
whether
shut
whether
up.
you believe it or not, you are.
Andy,
I don't.
do you have
Yeah, I'm
something
just
to
curious
add?
why Cleaner's point is being dismissed so easily. Like I do think. So you want to make it
It's
about
just a
objective
dumb
morality?
fucking
That's
point, dude.
fine.
Shut up,
I don't
Beck.
think it is because there's a totally different view of the world that both of them are bringing to the table, right? On the one hand, you have the liberalism, right, grounding order, the moral order in the free individual, the autonomous individual. That's fine, right? I'm not saying one or the other is right, but then on the other ground, you have this objective moral order, but that matters for how you structure society. That's like the most important thing for how you structure society. So Cleaner could just come back and say, why should I care about your autonomous source of moral order? Right? Like you could just throw the same objection right back at you guys. So it's just strange to me that that's just being dismissed so easily.
Yeah, because I think that
kind of
the
agree.
religious side of the argument, I think would value those things. I just don't.
So
Well,
I
and
think
that's
the
why
consideration
just isn't
hold on.
valuable.
But you don't value whether or not there's a common good.
No, because I think that concept is flawed.
before I go back, can I say one thing?
Well,
Sarah?
Yeah, go ahead, Ryan. I knew you wanted to add in on that.
Yeah. I think the interesting thing, we're circling around it. Like one of the benefits of liberalism is that not everyone in the liberal society agrees on what that common good looks like. And yet it makes room for us all to have our preferences of what a common good is and vote on those things. And, within, as long as when we're not imposing those on other people, like we are allowed to express them, right? And that's a fundamental good thing about liberalism that, again, is pioneered by liberalism and doesn't really exist in countries or governments where religion is the doctrine of the land. But yeah, I'll see you all in 5 minutes, and I'll bring Umbriel.
Yeah, so I think, Andy, you're seeing the world through rose-tinted glasses, which is cool. But
I don't think
republicanism.
He asked a
if you
question.
actually- I'm answering the question if you listen. So republicanism, if you take it all the way back, whatever it is, more than 2,000 years, when we've had sort of this conception of common good, of citizenship tied to a state, a society, and it's all one thing. That's what republicanism actually is. And so you still have wars in Europe where Republicans send 100,000 people to go fight and 100,000 people die. And so, if you start picking apart these examples where a common good isn't how a person thinks, they should be thinking about stuff a little bit in that collective mindset, but we're not a totality. You start seeing why liberalism is actually required in the real world. The sort of magicality that you ultimately get out of it is that you're able to simultaneously build democracies, which both republicanism and liberalism does, but you also get this restorative justice component, where and for example, like in Chile, you both have you're actually counting dead bodies in locations where Pinochet tortured and murdered people. You also have entirely new laws for to protect indigenous people that were especially subjected to that. Republicanism doesn't think in precisely that same light. Liberalism does. I don't think there's anything optimistic about republicanism. I think it's a great baseline. It's great to take to your community, but it's not an effective political ideology.
I don't know what you mean by Republican.
I'm good, dude. Okay, that's it. Enough for me. I'm good. I don't care. What the fuck? Okay, that was that. Okay, you know what? I think I'm gonna go edit stuff now. You guys head over to Dylan Burns on Twitch.